Are you getting yourself ready for our show?
Alrighty, guys. Bobby Roastbeef here, Jigs and Bigs. We got a great show lined up for you guys. It's been a crazy week around the Pioneer Valley here. We've got some headlines for a story, tragic story out of a local body of water that we're going to get to. Yeah, it's pretty dicey, but it definitely sings toward the lesson we've been trying to throw out there of wear your freaking PFD, people. You got more of that coming up for you. I had a pretty rough week as far as fishing goes, pretty dismal. Cool little discovery, though, at a very, very, very popular bank fishing body of water. Speaking of bank fishing, we got Dave Shade with us this week. He came in number 2, second place in the May Scavenger Hunt series, and he did all that work from the bank. Pretty amazing. We're going to talk shaky heads in bait of the week. It's getting to the heat of the summer. Man, I'm feeling it now. You guys are going to want to know about baits that you want to drag slowly on the bottom when things get tough, and we have some suggestions for you. We also have a little just the tip for you, kind of a bounce back, and something you want to pay attention to right off the top of the show. Guys, we got much more good stuff coming up for you. You don't want to miss out. We've got Jigs and Bigs goodness every which way till Sunday. Go ahead, get yourself something delicious to enjoy. We'll be back right after this quick interlude, right after this right here. All right, guys. So, unfortunately, I have to start the show off by telling everybody that I'm a moron. I am an idiot.
A total dumbass.
I have to, actually, for the first time in 172 episodes, I have to rescind some data that I threw out there because I was wrong about something. And I'm not too proud to admit it. But last week's FTG that came in from Anthony Pellegrini, who I had mistaken because he sounds so much like Anthony Romeo, the head CEO over at Fresh Baits. Well, I was mistaken. Thankfully, Anthony had reached out to me and said, hey, I don't own Fresh Baits. I'm not involved with Fresh Baits, but I don't want to see anybody like blowing up a local bait company or anything. I'm just some guy that thought that would be funny. And I said, holy shit, I am an idiot. I'm going to go ahead and rescind that. So I apologize, guys, for the wrong information. Anthony Pellegrini does not, in fact, own any shares of Fresh Baits. Thankfully, because I also went and I contacted Tony at Fresh Baits, and then I said, listen, man, I'm a dumbass. I don't know if you've heard the show yet, but I just found out. And thankfully, this was like Wednesday. I found out. And I was like, okay, we're going to do something quick and mention it in next week's show. So here we are. He thought it was hilarious. And then he says, how can I leave a message? So I'm expecting that we're going to get something, maybe just ball busting or something like that from Tony. So, and that's totally fine. So, we'll get that when it comes in. So let's start the show off with that. Yeah, I could tell, Sean, when I told you this, I got the impression that you were like, son of a bitch, what the fuck did you do? And I was like, it's okay, guys. I'm going to jump on this grenade because it's all me. I fucked that up. And even Joe tried. He's like, what's this guy's last name? I'm not sure. Are you sure? And then I played it, and like, you guys heard it too. Like, he sounds just like him. So I was like, all right, hey, who knows? I don't know what's going on.
All I'm laughing about is that you're lucky you're Italian. Because if I had said it right, it would have been, all us Italian last names sound the same to you? Are we all the same?
Or you would have woken up with a horse head in your bed or something like that. Exactly. That's what I'm saying, So anyway, we got that out of the way. Also, just want to remind you guys that we're the last episode and the one before that have just been bananas as far as the engagement and the listens have just really fast. Like, you guys are loving this content, and I think that's amazing, and thank you very much. We appreciate you guys for it. But to let you know, if you want to support the show and kind of get a little bit more out of it, there's a couple things that you can do. Obviously, we've got Jigs and Bigs merchandise available at jigsandbigs.com. We've got a full store. There are all kinds of good stuff. I have a T-shirt idea. I got a little inspiration at trivia, and I feel the itch to get a new shirt out there. So hopefully, we'll have a Jigs and Bigs shirt coming out real soon. That could be a brand new one that I'm hoping to have out real soon. But we've got hats. We've got a Bluetooth speaker. So if you want to take the show with you on the go and listen while you're on your kayak or your boat or something and not take up a ton of space, get that waterproof Bluetooth speaker. It sounds pretty nice. It does a pretty good job. We also have, all kinds of great stuff over there. So that's the obvious one. You can buy some Jigs and Bigs merch and do your thing, and I think that's great. But you also can also become a jig head. What the hell is a jig head? I'm sure you're thinking, Bobby, what the hell is a jig head? Well, oftentimes in the show, you'll hear us mention some of our audience that it sounds like we're just talking directly to, and we are. It's because as we record this show, we do an exclusive live stream for our jig heads where they can jump in, and in the comments, they can, kind of engage with us while we record the show. We'll often ask them questions. They can give us feedback. They can make comments on stupid things that we do. All kinds of stuff like that. So like currently right now in here, I know we got Patrick Martin in the house. We also have Hunter Cummins in here, HB Tricky. And if you want to become a jig head, you can just sign up at jigsandbigs.com. It's a little button there that says join our Patreon. That's all it is. Every week we drop a link, but we have more stuff too. There's special discount codes that with companies that we work with and all kinds of stuff. And we've got lots of opportunities for you guys to get some bonus content as well. In fact, there's a really good story in there with a React video that I highly recommend. If you're a new jig head, you really should just take a little bit of time and scroll through some of those old posts, and you'll see some pretty cool stuff. There's some good stuff in there for you. And we've been talking about doing some jig head exclusive stuff, including a new raffle, which is where we're going to be giving some pretty cool prizes out to some folks. So we really haven't done much for like giveaways on like Instagram or anything. I feel like that kind of seems a little bit more scammy these days than it did a year or two ago. But now, we have this nice little plan to kind of engage our jig heads with like cool shit. Winning cool shit is always awesome. What do we have for this week? How were your weeks, guys? I was on the bank.
I had a fantastic week.
That's good.
I don't know about Sean. I don't know, but I had a good week.
At least somebody. Joe, you want to start?
Yeah, I could start.
We'll start it on a good foot.
Yeah, let's do it. So let's talk fishing. So I got out a few times. So what was it? Monday? I think it was Monday. Got out to a local body of water here that I actually fished for the first time. I'll throw it out. It was Wickabog, West Brookfield.
Mm-hmm.
I think you guys have fished it before.
Sorry to hear you spent time there.
I see, Sean. I love that place. It took me a while, but I got it pretty figured out. But I say that now, I won't catch another fish there. But so anyway, so I go there. And I pull up to the ramp. And one thing I always do, because you always have some asshole at the ramp yelling at you for something.
Oh yeah.
I always look at the boating rules when I go to some place for the first time for the season, and just to make sure nothing changed, like
That's
nothing
smart.
crazy changed.
Yep.
So I look, and there's a big ass yellow sign right on there. And I don't know if you guys know right off the bat what that yellow sign means. They just fucking nuked the weeds.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So the day before, they just nuked the weeds. I was like, fuck. And I was like, all right, it was just yesterday, so we might be all right. We'll check it out. So anyway, I drop in. The water temperature, like the conditions were perfect for top water. So that's what I started with. Not one hit on it. And that scared. I was like, oh God, they're already messed up from the chemicals. I was like, oh no. So I threw them for a while. I mean, I threw everything from a prop bait to I think I started with a buzz bait. I did like a whopper plopper. I did just a regular walking bait, and nothing. I was like, oh God. So I went to a rock pile in there that I like. I threw a swim jig. I've been having pretty good luck on those Beast Coast swim jigs lately, like the finesse ones, the working man jigs that they don't make anymore.
Yeah.
So I had bought a shit ton of them on eBay, so it should be good for a couple of years. But so I catch a nice one, probably 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds. So I was like, okay, so they're eating, they're chomping. I get a couple crappie off there, decent sized crappie, and I worked some other grass flats there. Missed a smallie at the boat, small smallie, shook me off at the boat. End up going to another spot, another shoreline I really like. I've had good luck with. I previously caught my biggest fish out of there in this spot. First off, what happens is I throw that swim jig. I'm still working that swim jig. I catch a donkey of a pickerel, which I'm not in any online tournaments or anything like that right now. So at first I was like, fuck, like I hate other than trying to get some, like when I'm doing the jigs and bigs tourneys or anything, or if I get into chronic trips, anything like that.
Yep.
I don't like catching pickerel. The only time I don't mind is right now I'm trying to get one of my twins to get the coins for the youth fishing program. So I'm okay with it then if he catches one. But other than that, I hate catching them. But this thing was probably, I didn't have my board with me, but it probably would have been close to a pin for the state, which is I think 25 inches.
25.
Okay.
Shit.
And so I'm like, when it comes up, I'm like, holy shit, like this is I get the net out and everything. I kept it off the boat, get the hook out, dump them. I'm like, all right, see you later. Throw my swim jig out again immediately. I checked the line real quick. I didn't have to retie, didn't get a hold of the line or anything. Throw it out again. The fucking thing, same fish, grabs my bait again. So here we are again, bringing this freaking pickerel, monster of a pickerel in. And so we get him off. Whatever, a few casts later, I throw him to the shore and I hook into something real nice. I'm like, okay. So I hook in. I see it come up. I see her kind of, her belly goes sideways. And I was like, oh, this is a nice fish. I was like, okay. Working her, she fucking spits the hook.
That bitch.
And it was like, that was one of those ones where I was like, oh my God, like a little bit of self-pity, a little bit to beat myself up. I'm like, hold on, let me throw something else out there. So in about a minute and a half, I tossed a Nico rig on my BFS setup and she fucking takes that too. So I hook her because I knew exactly where she went. So I threw it in. I hook her again, get her to the boat. I get her in. End up being, I don't remember. It's in my notes somewhere. I think it was 412. She ended up weighing.
Not bad.
And that's post spawn. I mean,
yeah.
she's fair. I mean, she was a big girl. Got a couple photos, did the social media shit, and tossed her back. Decided to screw around. There's a spot where I know a bunch of crappies sit. Screwed around with them for a little bit. Caught a bunch of those. And yeah, called it a day. Caught a couple other rat bass and called it a day. So I had a good day there.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it was a good day. I like that place. I've had some good luck there. So from there, I think it was actually the following night. I had my Wednesday night league with my buddy Ryan. This was just a fucking nightmare of a night.
Oh yeah, was it?
So we get going. So first off, what I'm going to tell everyone is I actually I started this new thing on TikTok and Instagram where I basically voice over my cut versions of my fishing trips.
Gotcha.
They're kind of comical and stuff like that, but this was a great one to start off at because it was just like problem after problem after problem.
That's the best.
So after some shit talking that I should not have been doing to everybody, like in the beginning, you see me doing it. I take off. Ryan went into my truck to grab our hoodies because we forgot. I was like, it might get a little chilly when the sun starts to go down. I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I'll grab our hoodies. I didn't realize where he put them. So we take off in the boat. We get on plane. Oh, no. Next thing you know, you just see us both look back. You see us both look back real quick. And that's because both our hoodies went flying. And luckily for me, mine caught onto the Raptor, the shallow water anchor.
Oh, there you go.
His did not. His went flying, and I'm still going. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, oh,
it's gone.
Chalk it up as a loss.
Yeah.
And he keeps looking at me and he's yelling. He's like, dude, I just got that hoodie. I was like, oh, that sucks. He's like, I waited it like it was a special order. I was like, man. I was like, man, that blows. And he's still looking at me. I'm like, I was like, do you want me to go get it? He's like, if you don't mind, So we pull the Yui. I bomb back down. I was like, all right, man, I'm not slowing down, so you better grab this thing.
Shit.
It's your shit. Oh yeah.
Did he get it?
It's all in the video.
Okay, cool.
It's
I'm gonna
all in the
watch
video. So it was floating. So he misses it the first time. I stop, we get it. The thing weighs like 40 pounds now because
if you would have grabbed it, he would have gotten pulled out of the boat.
yeah.
Dislocated his shoulder.
Yeah. So he grabs that. We finally get to a spot to the brush pile I really like there. He grabs like a rat off it, but it was a fish. Put in the live well. We take it. Fish a couple others. So we fished that for a while, and I usually get fish a lot quicker than we did there, decent fish. But it was quiet. We end up hitting a couple other spots in the process. Everyone's heard me on the show talk about it. Is my favorite rod brand right now, and probably 75% of my rods are 6 Sense rods.
Yep.
I had a 6 Sense sensory jig rod that I had for my jigs. And like a fucking idiot, I forgot to take a rod out that I wanted. So I took it out in the process, the tip of that rod came out and I closed the rod locker on it and broke it. Yeah. So that's about a $250 whoopsie.
That blows.
Yep.
I thought when you first said you broke a rod, I was like, okay, so maybe you went over a log or something, and you were like, something just happened to tip the jig, and you were just like, set the hook like a champion.
Oh, man,
I'm like,
I'm totally okay with breaking a rod, setting the hook, or from a fish or whatever, totally. But when you do it just because you're being a dummy, that's when it hurts.
Yeah.
That's when it hurts. So I broke that rod. We end up fishing a couple other spots, getting a couple other rats. Nothing big. That place is. So it was at Quabog. You guys all know Quabog.
Yep.
That's where we had the Wednesday night league, and that place is typically. And I think you've seen it with me, Bobby. That place is usually pretty fire for top water, especially frogs, stuff like that.
There's a lot of pads. Yeah.
We just couldn't get top water to bite out of. For the life of us. Yeah. It's so that place has been super strange this year. Mm-hmm. And for those people who fish it, who hear this, there's a lot of trout in there right now because they got locked in from south. There's been a lot of smallies being caught in there, which is not typical or normal. And it's just that place has been weird this year. But anyway, so I go back to my brush pile towards the end of the night, or about in the middle, because I was like, dude, I know they're here. I know there's a couple big ones. There always is. End up hooking into a nice one, 4-pounder. It was actually it was like 398 or something.
Yeah.
Hook into her. She was gross looking. You could tell she was just like big head, skinny body, just recuperating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just feeding. Yep. So we get her, and that was pretty much it. We end up heading back. I went into like Pickerel Cove and like the river because I wanted to hit that top water. So we went and, Pickerel Cove in the back there. Yep. I started to hit the river towards South Pond, just trying to get those those top water, like the frogs. We're throwing frogs, rats, dog. We're throwing everything. Yep. And nothing. So we get back. I zoom back to the ramp. I was kind of running a little late. Get to the ramp, and of course, there's a fucking guy with a jet ski. That's a two trailer ramp.
Yep.
He's right in the middle, of course.
As you do.
And it sucks because they were actually like super nice. They're like, "Oh, nice boat" or whatever, and I'm just like. So now they're stopping. So now Ryan jumps off to like get my trucks out. Now he's waiting. He's literally wrapping ratchet straps like all the way around this thing. Like, it was fucking funny. It was like an old jet ski, but whatever. They were nice and they got out of the way. But anywho, so we did shitty. Our weight was like 9 or 8 pounds, 9 pounds, something like that. I didn't even pay attention. We did not win by any means. And we got beat up. We lost our guy ended up with wet hoodies, broken rod, and I mean at least we got one decent fish out of it.
Yeah, that's true.
So and then that was 2 times out this week. So I got out 2 times with a full week of work, and so I'm happy with that.
That's not bad. That's pretty good for a full week of work.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was hold on.
Oh.
Let's talk turkeys.
Yeah. Let's talk some
Let's
turkey.
talk turkeys. Patrick Martin's going to be pissed if I don't talk turkeys. So real quick, I know the famous Joe's turkey farm here, and that how 11 of them died. We end up with one survivor, Marcus Luttrell, who's what we named him. He's thriving. He's outside with the rest of the flock right now. He's money. The place that we got him sent us 12 more. They're here. They got here the other day. They are thriving little assholes. There's nothing wrong with these things. They are already trying to jump out of the brooder. They're fucking loud. Like yeah. So I don't need 12 more turkeys. So I was like, Bobby and I were talking about it. I threw like on Facebook, like, hey, anyone interested in turkeys? Like, I'll give you some. Like, we don't need this many. Luckily some friends of mine, close friends and stuff, reached out to like, yeah, we have them. We'll take a few, whatever. So we're good there. So yeah, no dead ones this time. They're all good, thriving, eating, drinking, being little assholes. And that's where we're at, Pat.
Marcus,
I'll keep you posted.
Marcus gets to be a role model, you know?
Marcus gets to be a role model. We were like, the kids are like, let's like bring Marcus in and introduce. I was like, no, Marcus is going to like beat the shit out of him if we do that right now. We got to wait a little while.
Yeah.
Because we have a duck that we've had for a couple of years, a male duck who just keeps trying to beat up the younger one. So that's been a fun thing. But
sure.
yeah, that was my week in a nutshell. On to you guys.
Now, Sean, go for it.
I'm the coach. I'm not Sean the fisherman. I'm Sean the IKEA man. After the large purchase my wife and I made at IKEA a couple months ago, I finally prepped the room all this shit was going into. Got all that done. Got everything out of there. I've been assembling IKEA furniture for fucking 2 days. And I mean, just hardcore. It's all done. I sent you guys pictures of it. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's all done. So I didn't fish this week. I had some doctor's appointments, had some other shit going on, and I didn't fish. I had 2 opportunities to. I canceled both of them. I was supposed to get out on the salt on Saturday with Derek. Did not happen.
Yep.
Was supposed to go to a Berkshire body of water with Chrissy today. Did not happen. Canceled both of them. The IKEA thing's fucking done, and I don't have to worry about it ever again.
That's
I told
the
my
best
wife,
part.
we ever sell the house, the IKEA shit being sold with the house. Don't give a fuck. Done with it. I will say this as far as fishing related stuff. This is somewhat of a plug, but it's kind of not. It's kind of a get on a mailing list, folks. We haven't talked about Kari Townsend in a while.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Popped up on the show. Yep. Kari is the painter out in Minnesota. Does a ton of wildlife, ton of like waterscape pictures, landscapes, all sorts of good shit. She's the unofficial outdoors paint fine artist of Jigs and Bigs. We'll call it that. So I am on her mailing list, and I've been thinking about getting another painting of hers for some time, whether it was print or original. We do have one of her prints hanging up in the house. It's fucking phenomenal. She had a deal come through, or she decided to do a deal. First 2 people to respond to her through email or through email. I think I saw her make a video on Instagram real quick. I got the email first, so I kind of disregarded the Instagram. But either way, I responded first. We got a custom piece of artwork, 12 by 12, original, $200 plus shipping and handling. So get on her mailing list because she drops little things like that every now and again. This one hit me just right, and I said it was time. Got in touch. I was one of the first 2 people to jump on there, and I sent her a picture. She actually said, please send me the picture. And there was a picture that I have. Actually, a lot of you guys are going to be familiar with it. Bobby, you were immediately. The picture that my wife took off her parents' dock in Minnesota that we use as the background of the Jigs and Bigs tournament on Fishing Chaos, the banner. So that picture in the background, obviously minus the logo, will be, I guess, what Carrie's working on for us, and it's going to be fucking awesome. So Kari, Kari, Townsend, Townsdin. She's on Instagram. She's on Facebook. She is on, well, get on her mailing list. You'll be good to go. Yep, good stuff. That's all my fishing this week. Hopefully this week is a different story because the fucking IKEA is done. And I'm lame. That's all I got, man.
It happens, man. These weeks happen.
Whoa, Bobby, wait a minute.
Yeah.
How could I forget something that you and I have a date coming up?
Yeah, we do.
we are going back to the past and then to the future, right? I think that's how it works.
Pretty much. In the future, we're going back to the past.
Yes, we are. Yes, God damn it. So for everyone interested in this shit, when Bobby and I were working at Bernie's back in the year of lore, 1995 into 1996. 1995, we gathered a group of people, group of hardened partiers and prog metal lovers, and we went and caught Dream Theater.
We did.
At the height of their power. What was it? Two days before New Year's, the new year turned into 1996.
That's
right.
right.
The calendar flipped.
Yeah.
Yep. It wasn't New Year's Eve. It was the night before. We caught them at a small club, which I don't even know if it's still there. The L&G in New London.
I believe it is.
The L&G still is alive. I
believe it's still there. Yeah.
Fucking A. Good for them.
Not to be mistaken with the El Cid in Ludlow. That's different.
Not the El Cid. You don't want
Very
that.
different.
Yeah. Yes, it is. We went down there with a hardened bunch of Bernie's partiers and a couple of my buddies from high school, and
I played
God,
the
it was a
role
mess.
of designated driver that night.
You were. It was. I believe you ended up piloting my buddy Bill's Monte Carlo.
That's
should have
right.
Been taken off the road 10 years prior.
Oh, it was wonderful. That was great. I kind of felt like I felt like Uncle Buck's car.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we caught that. We caught that show. It was phenomenal. It was on the Change of Seasons tour, I believe it was.
Yeah.
The small mini tour they did with that EP. That was good. And we're going to catch them this weekend. We're going to catch Dream Theater in Connecticut. Southern Connecticut will welcome Bobby Roast Beef and Sean the Fisherman once again.
It's going to be a good time.
28 years later, 28 years later, we're catching Dream Theater.
That's ironic, man, because I don't know if Dream Theater's ever had any of their songs on this, but this week's Music Rounded Trivia is Guitar Hero songs. And just John Petrucci is a true guitar hero for many.
Is it songs from the game? Is that what you?
Yeah, songs from the game. Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Fuck! I can't go this week.
I won't be there on Friday. So
I know
that's your night.
Yeah, I know.
Oh no shit!
And
no
just for laughs, Bobby. I think I've mentioned a number of times. I have a tattoo on my leg that gets a lot of attention from both men and women alike. Everyone's like, "Hey, nice tattoo! Oh, nice tattoo! Nice tattoo! Hey, super tattoo!" That's what I get. All right, for my leg. That's the only visible one. That beautiful little skyline that I have tattooed across my leg used to be a Dream Theater logo.
Yeah,
it was there. Sean the Fisherman used to drink and used to get a tattoo of a band or two, and that's what happened. And it eventually needed to go away because while I like Dream Theater, I'm not in the band, and it took a few years to realize that. Yeah, should be a blast. But we're
just trying to get on the tour bus. I have a picture. I have seen Dream Theater probably 30 times. It's ridiculous. I've seen Dream Theater the way some people have seen The Dead.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Like
it's
5
just
times, I think.
It's ridiculous, man. After that show, I was on a tear, and I have a picture from probably the most hated album in tour that they had done, Falling Into Infinity. They had played a show at the Webster Theater in Hartford, Connecticut. It was the middle of winter.
I was at that show, brother.
I'm sure I actually bumped into you. I want to say I bumped into, who's that dude? Mike. It was his car that I drove.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. And I think he, it was just random. I mean, my friends would all be like, everybody. Like, you go anywhere and people bump into you and they're just, oh, hey, how you doing? It's just ridiculous. But I have a picture floating around. If I can find this, I wish I could find it in time for the artwork of the show. I have a picture of my second favorite Dream Theater keyboardist, Derek Sherinian. He's wearing those fucking like Bono from U2 sunglasses. And he's going to get on the tour bus and hold up this camera and bam, and I blinded him so bad with the flash. But you can see the back of his skull through the sunglasses. It's ridiculous.
So just to place ourselves in our age again, that show, the only time they've ever played the Webster, January 2nd, 1998.
Yeah, that sounds right on the money.
Right in the middle of my dark ages. I was pretty ripped up for that show.
Yeah, that was friggin' nuts. Oh.
So we're going to get into some sleeping time medicine and have some fun this weekend.
Yeah, we are.
I'm all fired up.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
I have a concert to go to tomorrow night.
Oh, really? Where are you going tomorrow night?
Yeah, did I tell you about this insanity? So the bassist from Primus, and this is not for your benefit, this is for all the listeners that don't know any of this shit.
Yep.
Les Claypool, bassist extraordinaire. He got together with John Lennon's son and Roger Waters' son.
Oh yeah.
They have reformed a new version of Colonel Claypool's Fearless Flying Frog Brigade. They are playing at possibly my favorite concert venue in Northampton tomorrow night. By
No
this time,
shit.
it'll be the night before. And their entire second set is their version of Pink Floyd's Animals, the entire album.
Dude, it's so funny you say that.
Yeah.
So last night I left the wedding I was doing in Boston, and I was just like, I don't even know what I'll listen to. Like, I just want to listen to some decent music. Keep in mind, the wedding, the groom was a rapper, so like you can imagine, like he was pulling out some of his favorite jams for this, and I was like, I gotta just listen to something that just to set the tone, and I put on this playlist of a bunch of like classic rock tunes, and a little more than halfway home, Dogs starts playing from Animals.
Yes.
What a good song. I have not really, it's been a long time since I've really, really taken a dive into some Floyd, and I miss it. It's time to go back. It's time to go back. Here we are. We're exposing our age here. This is ridiculous.
It's fine. We're old school.
This is wild, man. So let's go ahead and jump into some of these. Before I get to my week, we'll jump into catch up with some of these Jighead comments right here. Patrick says, going back to the turkeys, Marcus the Alpha. Nelson chimes in. He is at the beach in North Kakalaki, enjoying life. Tim Bender's with us all the way from Colorado. He says, "What's up, dudes?" Gravy is also with us. He says, "Nelson's in the south. I'm in the north." Well, I mean, technically.
Did you say Tim was in Colorado?
Yeah, Tim's in Colorado.
We all know a Tim from Colorado, don't we?
A Tim from Colorado. Timmy. Oh my God.
I was going to say the same thing.
Timmy.
Oh no, this is gonna end on a real. And then so Tim then says Dream Theater's sick. He's 100% right. Pat Martin says my buddy's wife is a New London girl who grew up going to the LNG. I'm fairly certain it's still there. Let's see, what do we got? Then Pat says, "Oh, you're going to the Frog Brigade." Frog Brigade is pretty amazing. It really is. It's pretty crazy.
A lot of sleepy time medicine this week for somebody who just had a fucking heart scare.
It all comes out. It's all good. So my week, Tim says, never heard that one before. I have this week was ridiculous for me because again, pull away the beef curtain and expose it all. This week was the end of school. That's important for my wife because my wife works for the school system, and my youngest daughter is now done for the year. So she is, living her best life. Everything's good. My wife hasn't left our living room in days. She's just checked out completely. Her car is in the driveway and it's blocking my kayak. Now, I made the decision that this week I was not taking my kayak out, and here's why. Because you guys, listeners that have been listening for a while, last summer, you may remember me talking about how they had replaced a water main on my street. And this was like boot camp for learning how to manipulate that trailer, backing it back into my driveway around heavy equipment and all kinds of other stuff. Well, we got a notice. This must have been 2 weeks ago, and it was a notice on our door, and it said, "Oh, no on-street parking for the week of," I think it was the 19th. No on-street parking for the week of the 19th. Okay, great. So everybody's been jammed into my driveway, and the first day after they'd taken down that initial layer of asphalt and then kind of graded it. I went to back out of my driveway, and because I have keep in mind an 8-inch drop on my kayak trailer because it sits so low. It scraped at the end of the ground at the end of the driveway. So I'm like, okay, we're not doing that. I'm not gonna risk my rudder or anything like that. We're gonna hold off, and I will take this out after the paving's done. It's done. So it's just playing games with getting my my wife's car moved and then taken off and going doing my thing. This week I had a lot to do. Monday was swamped. I had a ton of prep to do. Tuesday was the release date of the show, and I had some running around and some wedding prep for the event that I had just done this week. Wednesday had come around, and I had recorded a great interview. The interview you're going to hear with Dave Shade, I recorded that evening. And that brought us to Thursday. Now, Wednesday, I was throwing around the idea. Now, we had been kind of flirting with some weather all week. Are we going to get storms? What's going to happen? And Wednesday, my plan was to get together with a buddy of mine, my buddy Jimmy. This is the guy who, listeners listening to previous episodes may have heard about the year that I lived with a friend of mine who owned a house on a lake, and I never fished it while I was there. Like, totally missed opportunities. This is that guy. So he's since sold that house, and he's living in another part of town. And he works like crazy third shift hours. We never really hang out. We hang out maybe twice a year, something like that. So he said to me, he's like, "Oh, I'm taking a vacation." And I was like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here in Palmer." So I go, "All right, sounds awesome. Let's go ahead and make a plan." So I said, "Let's get out and do some fishing." And then, once this week had become what it was, where they're doing all this construction, I knew I wasn't taking the kayak out. I was like, I'm going to go do some bank fishing. I got Dave Shade that I just recorded with. So we ended up making a plan to go out on Friday. We went out Friday morning up to Wachusett Reservoir. And I said, if I'm going to go and do some bank fishing, I'm going to go bank fish where I have to bank fish, where it's not even an option. So let's go ahead and go there. I have had this hot and cold relationship with Wachusett. Sometimes I go and I get the skunk. Sometimes I go, and when I'm not, if I'm catching them, I'm catching absolute monsters. So I'm always interested to go and see what's going to happen. We got there, and the conditions were not fantastic. When we arrived, there was I've never even really seen it like this, where it was just slick calm in the area that we were fishing. We had clear skies. It was starting to actually warm up pretty good. And we decided we'd make a change to another spot. And at this one spot, there was a bridge nearby, and I spotted 3 smallmouth that were still on beds. And I was trying to sight fish them. One of them was playing the game, but was not really getting near the hook enough. I had that jig come flying back at me. I don't even know how many times. But I was trying to get it done. I couldn't believe it, though. They're still up on beds. Fast forward to Saturday. Of course, I was working in Boston the entire day. Drove back home. This morning, I was talking about potentially going out, Sean, with you and with Chrissy. I didn't get back till 12:30. So I was like, my feet are killing me already. I'm just exhausted. It's hot. It's gross. I just want to go and sleep in the AC. If I wake up in enough time to go out to the Berkshires and fish, I'm going to. I did not. I slept till 8:30. It was so nice. And I was just like, all right, cool. We're going to go and maybe I'll bank fish later today. So I went and I dropped off all my gear, handled all that stuff, and I went over to go bank fish 2 spots. Now, this is kind of a shitty story. So I head over to a spot that's real local. Ran a couple of errands while I was out, maybe to pick up some sleepy time medicine. And I went over to... Okay, potentially, definitely. I went over to a spot along the way that I fish at pretty routinely. And the visibility in this water was good. The weeds were growing up pretty good. And I started out, what did I start out throwing? Was it a swim jig? I think it was. I think I started throwing a swim jig in the weeds. Nothing. Got out to an area where the weeds kind of thin out a little bit. So I moved over and I started throwing a finesse swim bait. Nothing. Okay, no sweat. I walk along a little bit further and I found a scum frog along a fence. And I'm like, really? Okay, cool. So I happened to just say, screw it. The rod that I had my, what do you call it? My swim jig on. I cut the swim jig off, put it on. I've got a nice fast reel there. So I'm like, all right, this is one of the scum frogs that have the paddle toe, the paddle feet. And I'm like, all right, so it's kind of like a buzz toad. We'll give that a go. I'll flip that sucker out and crank it on through. And nothing, not even so much as a swipe anywhere. So fast forward a little bit, and I said, well, maybe it's just one of those days where I just got to throw something stupid. So I'll throw what I have tied on, what Jimmy was throwing on this one combo, which was a Texas rigged weightless Senko. And I throw this out, green pumpkin worm. and I get a big swipe on it. Big swipe. I'm like, okay, all right, missed it. Going to fish a little bit more, then come back to this spot in like 15 minutes. Did exactly that. Hooked into an absolute tank. This was a bite that was like not even detectable. You know, it was just that subtle of a bite. It's just that the line started to move. So I cranked down and I set the hook and brought this fish in. I have never seen now Sean and I have talked last week about how we both like to use 5/0 hooks on 5-inch worms. Puts the hook point a little bit further down. And also it's got a nice sort of like ideal weight, I think, like a nice medium weight when you're throwing this out there to get that action kind of working as it's, you know, floating down to the bottom or shimmying down to the bottom. So I get this hook. I've never seen a hook, a fish gut hook, a 5/0 hook this way. It took it to the bend right where the line tie is, all the way down. So I had my pliers going up by the gill plate trying to like maneuver this, and there was nothing I could do. This fish was just bleeding like a stuck pig. And I was like, I want to put this fish back in the water faster than later. You know, I want to get it back in the water as quickly as possible. It's going to die. So I cut the line right at the knot, and I put it back in the water. I was like, it's going to die. We'll see what happens. I didn't see it for 30 minutes. I was like, oh, all right. Then I saw it flopping around at the surface. And now I should say this, before I hooked into this fish, about 45 minutes beforehand, maybe even a little bit less, I saw a giant snapper, like a massive snapper, like shell the size of like a hubcap, huge. And, you know, the nice thing is about this body of water is that the visibility, even though the water has a stain to it, it's actually, the visibility is pretty good. I mean, you can see a good couple feet. And I see this turtle, and I'm like, all right, well, you know, I'm going to release this fish. If it dies, it's turtle food. And I got to see nature in action as this snapper just made this fish disappear from the surface. Just comes up, reaches up, grabs him, and then starts coming back down on the surface. Unbelievable. So I finished fishing that end of the bank. I did spot some activity and got a couple of taps, but like very, very light. So I decided, I had actually talked to my buddy Paul, and I figured I would meet him in another spot. And took a ride out to that other spot, fished there for about an hour and a half. And I was just, this was about, now it was probably about like 2:30 in the afternoon. And the heat was just killing me. I said, I got to pack it in. It's time to go. So I just hit the road, came home, you know, and here I am, a broken man.
Here we are.
A killer with blood on my hands. True. I'm a piece of shit. Chrissy Fishing is with us. How we doing, Chrissy?
We're sorry, Chrissy.
Yeah, we're sorry we bailed on you, Chrissy. That's terrible. We're pieces of shit. Hopefully you had an amazing day. I didn't. And I don't think those IKEA shelves were a delight.
They're up. I have PTSD from them, and that's all I'm going to say.
It's over.
Fucking done. Yeah.
Yeah. You've moved on. That's
I sure
important.
have.
What else? There was a couple of things that we wanted to talk about here, because this has been like not so much for us fishing, but for us, it's kind of been a silly ass little week for a number of things.
Is that the best description? I mean, it's apt.
I thought so.
Fucking silly. We'd be better off with a COTS.
This week's been silly. It's been a silly week. You got a little meatball sandwich over here?
I do have some bad news. By any chance, do you have a funeral dirge ready?
A funeral dirge?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Oh, that'd be awesome. We should probably have a funeral dirge on tap for future announcements like this.
I mean, I've got like taps. I can play that.
No, this doesn't deserve taps. This is like shitty funeral dirge. But it's all right. If you don't, no big deal. I'll make this announcement to anyone like us who's been living under a fucking rock as far as the New England concert scene has gone in the past 10 years. The L&G closed.
Are you serious?
On Halloween night of 2013. They didn't even make it to the pandemic, never mind through the pandemic.
Wow.
R.I.P. L&G.
God damn it. Chrissy Fishing says, I caught someone else's gut hook bass today and saved it, you guys. I almost hugged it.
She's a better person than all of us.
She's definitely a better person than me. That is for sure. That is for sure. I almost hugged it. No, there's some crazy stuff happening in the valley, and like we'll talk like tournaments and stuff in a bit. But Joe actually had brought this. This is an interesting conversation. I want to get to this before we get to the real like kind of dark end of it. But he said I made a suggestion for this topic was buying at local shops, buying your gear, your tackle, your items at local shops versus online or big box retailers. And so what are you thinking with this, Joe?
I guess the way we can look at it is like the pros and cons of the whole thing. Obviously, a lot of people like to support local shops. Yeah. I owned a local fishing shop, and it was awesome to have customers, come in. It's more, that face-to-face experience. Being able to put hands on stuff and, things like that. I kind of, when I did own that shop, I kind of made it a point to know what I was talking about before I sell you stuff, things like that, which you don't typically get it. Unfortunately, at the big box stores. I mean, we've all been there, and you have the guy that comes up to you and is like, "Hey, you should buy this." I'm like, it's like that. It's like that. What's that dude from Parks and Rec? Where he's like, he goes in. There's a meme where he goes into
Nick
Home Depot, and the guy's like, "Yeah," he's like, "Can I help you with something?" He's like, "I know more than you do."
Yeah, that's true.
It's kind of like that when you go into these Bass Pros and stuff, and really, it's like that. At some local shops as well, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, just the convenience. Like for us, we know what we want. We've, it's, I was blessed to have you guys, shop at my store. I was able to, order you guys stuff, whatever. But when you know what you want, it's just way more convenient to buy shit online. I just bought, while you guys were talking about your weeks, I just bought shit online. You know what I mean? So it's like just the convenience of it. And,
you're a better man than me. I was looking at porn and masturbating.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, perfect. So it's just, and it's an unfortunate thing to where, the brick and mortar stores are kind of going, I believe will most likely be a thing of the past unless those big box stores like your Bass Pros and your Cabela's and stuff like that, just because you can't beat Tackle Warehouse. You can't beat, there's one I recently was looking, American Legacy Fishing, that I was recently looking at. That's pretty good. And you just can't beat it. They literally have everything right there at the click of a button.
Look at like Omnia. Omnia has technology lined up based on where you're fishing to make recommendations of what you should use, taken from pros. Like, that's crazy.
Right. Yep. So I guess that's kind of where I was going at it. I mean, it's nice. I own the local shop, so I get it. And we don't have tackle shops up here like a lot of people do, like down south. You go down Florida, you go down, even like Tennessee, Texas. There's a lot of shops that are like, in-person tackle warehouses. You just don't get that around here. But that was just kind of where I'm going with it, where I was trying to go with it. Just like, what do you guys prefer? I mean, at this day and age, I prefer to just buy shit online because I know what I want. Yeah. And a lot of times, people don't have the shit that I want in person. So it's kind of like a crapshoot anyway.
That's a really good point. I look at it like this. I'm one of those people who's like, I want to have it both ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't treat going to, like, when I went to Old Glory, I wasn't going like, I'm looking to buy exactly this, unless I had talked to you beforehand and you're like, I've got one of these, I'm holding it for you.
Yeah.
Something like that. that's different. But like when I would go, it would be like, I am going to, for me, it's more about the community. And I'm going to just throw this out there. And maybe I'm naive in saying this, but we don't have that in Western Massachusetts. When I say Western Massachusetts, I'm talking about essentially anywhere around the tofu curtain, Hamden, Hampshire, and Franklin County. We don't have like quality, outlets to go and get tackle locally. I mean, when we would go to Old Glory, it was an hour trip. If we go to Berkshire Bass, it's at least 45 minutes.
Yeah.
At least, and I mean, it would definitely be something that I would want to do like more of and go to other spots. Although Four Brothers is pretty fucking awesome too. I like that. I like them as well. But they're, again, like that's not what I would consider local. As far as like where we live, like within like, 30 minutes or less, there's nothing.
No.
We're in like, and there's a lot of places I think where there's, and I understand it's hard to open a tackle store and like, try to compete with, your local, Richard's Sporting Goods or a Bass Pro that might be nearby or something like that, because it's if nothing else, it can be looked at as very challenging. But I think like if you're offering something that they can't offer, like that community, like Old Glory had,
sure,
that's a shoe-in. I think that's what separates it. So for me, I want both. If I'm looking to get something specific, I'm going to go online and try and factor it out. Patrick makes a really good comment here. He says, I'm in Southern Rhode Island. Most bait shops here are mostly saltwater. Plus, I fish with Matt Thayer, so I get a lot of my local baits through him. You can't go wrong there. And then there's that market, too. A local shop, you might find something like, and I know like some of the big box stores try, but like you might find something in your local shop that's like a Klondike Custom or something like a, like Fresh Baits, It's crazy. And and then like Fresh Baits is another good example. You just buy direct from them online.
Yeah, and that's that's the other thing. It's a lot of these. If you go like you just said, if you go like me, I buy a ton of 6 cent shit. I go in, I buy it directly from them. I'm blessed enough to where they have a really good military discount as well. So I just buy all that stuff straight through them.
Chrissy put something on here that I can totally see. She goes, I prefer buying online shopping too, because when I go to a tackle shop, I tend to get who are you buying this for? Is it a gift? That's one thing. But also like, if you go to your local, I feel like I go into a tackle shop and sometimes I'm like, I just lose control. I'm like an addict, Yeah. Like I'm like,
I mean, it's great. And obviously I knew I owned it. So, it's that shit that you just like need last minute. You know what I mean? It was that stuff. The baits, the soft baits, a soft plat. Like, listen, I loved Old Glory. I loved running it. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time to do it anymore, but I wasn't becoming a millionaire from it either.
No.
You know what I mean? Everything we made went right back into the business. And it's not a flooded market here per se.
In a lot of places it is though. Yeah.
Right. And like the funny thing about Chrissy is, you guys know Meg worked the shop just as much, if not more than I did. And she would get those guys. She'd be like, oh, can I help you? I think we've talked about this before. Like, oh, can I help you? They're like, no, you can't help me. It's, you get a lot. I got a lot of family, but there's also a lot of assholes out there in the community. There was so much drama. You guys know the drama with other bait shops and stuff like that. It was just like,
oh no, we're completely unaware. Let's talk about the drama with other bait shops. We could make a whole fucking month worth of shows out of that. We're not going to.
I agree, Sean. It's so crazy. I'll talk to you guys offline, but I was dealing with it again the other day.
Oh no,
come on! Really?
I still.
Oh, that's crazy. That's ridiculous.
It's let's just say it's good that I'm older and more mature these days.
Yeah,
not like when I was younger.
Yeah, I hear that.
But yeah, but anyway, that's my thought on it. What about you, Sean? Let's hear your take on this.
Obviously, I did my plenty of my travel over to Old Glory, but you're right.
Sure.
And sometimes in a pinch, especially during the pandemic, you guys weren't able to get some shit. So, I mean, I generally bounce around between, like right now I have 2 Cabela's gift cards I got for Father's Day that are waiting for a new reel. I mean, I'll buy from Cabela's. I'll buy from Richard's Sporting Goods. I'll buy from Tackle Warehouse and Land Big Fish. And that's really...
Let's not forget about Amazon. I mean, Amazon, you can get some baits from and get them within 2 days.
You're right. If they have them and if the person selling them isn't trying to make up for their shipping and handling.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
see that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, a $4 bag of baits at Richard's or at Cabela's is now $8.99 from a guy who's actually 2 towns over.
Yep.
Well, fuck you and your shipping and handling, buddy. Yeah, I mean, those are the 4. With Old Glory being gone, that's what I have to do.
You know, there's one place that I go to all the time that every single time I check their fishing section, and a lot of times I find shit is Walmart.
Oh, Walmart doesn't fuck around.
Like, dude, they're selling like 6 cents hooks and shit now.
Yeah,
and
it varies store to store.
yes,
You know, that's the thing. It
Ours
depends.
is decent. All right, the one in Leicester is pretty decent. So,
there's also...
Ooh, you know what, Bobby? I'm not going to say the name of the place. I'm sorry. Well, you're thinking of that place. There's my little discount store.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's some discount stores,
that,
too, that have some fishing stuff that you're like, all right, cool, I'll go ahead and I'll check this out.
And that's where I go shopping. That's not where I go in with any sort of agenda. That's because I don't know what's there.
Yeah.
Let's see what's there.
And, you know, sometimes that's how it is. Like, I'll go to like a big sporting goods store like Dick's or you know, even Cabela's or Bass Pro. I'll go in and I'm like, I'm looking for instance, like swim baits. I buy a lot of swim baits because I buy a ridiculous amount of sizes, and I like to fuck around and try different types for different situations. So I buy shitloads of swim baits, and I'll go in and I'll be like, you know, I'm looking to buy the is it the Speed Shiners that BPS puts out, and they're fantastic.
Yes.
They're great.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, they're very much like Kitex. But the value is out of this world. Well, the problem is that, you know, they might just not have any colors that I'm looking for in that specific size. So then I'm like, all right, so let's look and see what they've got for other brands that are kind of in that wheelhouse. And it's, you know, that can be frustrating, you know, obviously with, you know, you're dealing with supply issues and shit like that, and the popularity of specific baits. You know, somebody drops an instructional video about something, and all of a sudden, boom, you've got some new shit. But like I've gone and bought crazy amounts of gear, just window shopping, and it's not a good thing. 'Cause some of it I'd never use.
Yeah,
you know, like I'm like, oh, these would be cool. Yeah, I'll grab a pack of these too. And it's like, it might not look like much. It might be 3 or 4. It might be an extra $4 or $5, but it's like over time as you go and do it. I would love if we had a local shop. If we had a local shop that wasn't like having to make a trip to go to, I would probably be there. Like some people go, you know, to like the local watering hole.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. Bobby, we could talk about that on break. There is something I want to bring up about that, but we may. I think I know the origin of it, and I don't. Whatever. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it off air.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do have a hole. We have a void here in Western Mass where, even though we have the Connecticut River, we don't have a lot of bait and tackle shops.
And I mean, I know that there are, like, people say, "Oh, what about this place? What about this place? Oh, that's kind of near the river. What about this place?" They suck.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, they're like, they don't have a damn thing, or they're literally just focused on striper fishing.
Yeah, and it's amazing so far inland where everybody's so focused. You know, that's
right.
That's
they
the thing
think
from
everybody
Massachusetts.
fishes the Connecticut for a striper, and that's it. It's striper and fucking shad. That's it.
Yep.
But shit, I was just gonna say. And the biggest thing I've seen, and especially out in Western Mass, anytime I go out there, but I see it around here too.
Yep.
Bait shops don't modernize.
Oh yeah.
You know,
that was a big thing I try to do at my shop, is try to modernize it to the way the sport's modernizing. You go there and you're still, I mean, it's still an older guy in his like his old school mindset, you know? But yeah, before I forget, I do want to say one thing that Tim just said. He said, "Hey Joe, I tried that alpha brain.
Yeah,
it's the
saw
truth,
that.
man. Glad to see that. I'm not trying to plug them or anything like that. I just threw out what helps for me, and I'm glad it helps someone else.
Chrissy gives a little life hack. She goes, the best part about Walmart is you can add a bunch of stuff to the grocery order, and the spouse is none the wiser. God, you're smart. You're a smart woman.
That's fucking smart, Chrissy.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, same thing works when you're buying collectibles at Target.
Oh yeah, or I've done it. I've done it with the wife's like because since the pandemic, we like buy our paper goods in bulk. And we'll usually just do it on Amazon, like commercial shit. So we just order all that, and when I do, I'm like, yeah, I could use some tungsten. Yeah, I could use I need some more such and such. Oh, we'll throw these in the cart. Oh, that's great. So,
funny story about all that shit is and we're kind of getting off on a tangent here, but so my area, my neck of the woods, we just got DoorDash and shit like that.
Dude,
like that was never a thing before here. Dude, I didn't even know what the fuck that was. I mean, I knew what it was.
I can't believe we have it and you don't. That's nuts to me.
Yep. We just got it. So now we're like, it's gotten to the point where we'll like order, Meg and I will order from like Mexicali out in Spencer. We'll order from there. Kids will get we'll get them McDonald's or whatever. And then like, oh shit, we also need like a gallon of milk, and like we'll get a pint of ice cream. So we got like first time we ordered all fucking three all different ones are all in like our driveway fighting to like get out and like shit like that. All awesome. Show up at the same time. And yeah, so that's we're moving up in the Brookfields.
That's the way it happens, man. That's the way it happens. Little baby steps. Pretty soon you're going to start spending like $90 for a pizza, though. That's what's fucking slippery about DoorDash. You'll be like, let's get a cheese pizza. What? It's fucking $90. Fuck you. It's amazing, though. Nothing is more like, I'm telling you, people will pay for convenience. Some people won't, but there are enough of people who will pay for convenience that they're like, okay, this is fine. I don't have to be bothered. It's fine.
I agree. I agree.
And it's not a bad thing. If that's what you want to do, that's awesome.
Yep. Agreed.
Friggin' wild, man. What else do we have? So this is, we should probably talk about the tournament stuff.
Let's talk about the tournaments first. We're going to get
real
dark here real quick.
This is going to take a turn, guys.
Yep. First thing, seeing as we're going to talk tournaments, Jigs and Bigs July tournament has been up. The multi-species scavenger hunt has been up for registration for a couple days now. It starts in 6 days.
Yeah. I got to register. I'm doing it now.
Get up on it, folks. Well, Bobby, if you're going to register now, let us know how many people are in it. That is
I'm doing the same thing.
Okay, well, Joe, let me know how. Well, I'll add you guys.
I did the one day, and I forgot to do the month long.
Excellent. I'm pretty sure I'm in that. I'm pretty sure I registered for both. But either way, we're gonna focus on the one day here on the Midsummer Mayhem. Again, while we use the monthly multi-species tournaments as a learning platform, I generally give a lot. There's got to be some extreme problems for me to DQ a fish. I mean, within the rules, obviously. If it's breaking a rule, it gets DQ. But I try to let people know, hey, this is your first tournament. I give them a call. Yep. They can reach out to me. There's a lot of communication that goes on to make sure they're doing the right thing and getting things across so that I don't have to DQ fish. I don't have to deny fish. And people are learning how to use these measuring boards. Well, for multi-species mayhem, for the Midsummer Mayhem, excuse me, a lot of M's in here. For Midsummer Mayhem, it is not. You either take a picture correctly or you don't. So if you're just learning the tournament game, read the rules. Read the rules. Read the rules, read the rules, read the rules. If you're an old hand at this, just in case, read the rules. All right. We're going to make sure that the self-tests that are done within your phone for your camera roll, they've all got to be completed. If I see no EXIF data from your phone, I got to DQ you guys because I don't know where that fish was caught. So obviously for starting this tournament off, you got to have a smartphone. You got to have Fishing Chaos downloaded for it. You've got to have an account. Whether you're paying by the tournament or you pay for the year like I do a lot of tournaments. It makes a little more sense. Mm-hmm. You've got to have a catch board. Midsummer Mayhem is catch board only. No musky boards. That's the only other board we allow. And that's generally for the chronic trips. Catch boards only. There is a 48-inch folding catch for multi-species. You're obviously not going to need that, but for a 12 to 17-inch slot limit, that board folds in half, and you can use the 24-inch ruler that it becomes. That's what I use for all my tournaments.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to need your catch board. You're going to need your phone. You're going to need your Fishing Chaos app. You're going to need to get on there. Bobby, what's the total of people on the monthly? 6. Okay, that's fine. We're getting there. Usually, a lot of people jump on late. What do we have for the Midsummer Mayhem?
Midsummer Mayhem. Let me take a look at that one. I think last I looked, I think that one was like 7.
Yeah, so I'll be dropping. I'll be doing a little bit of marketing for that this week because it's getting a little bit closer, and there's a certain sect of marketing that I wanted to wait a little while on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's 8. There's 8 already.
Okay.
And actually, while I'm here,
you've got to read the rules, folks. It's the best thing I can tell you. It's the only thing I can tell you. We're treating this like the big leagues because it is. It's simple. 12-inch fish to 17-inch fish. When I say 17-inch fish, 17-inch fish means as long as it doesn't touch 17 and a quarter. If it touches 17 and a quarter, it doesn't count. Not, you can't just say, hey, it's 17 and a quarter. I want to count it as a 17. No, it's done. So that's a 17 and a quarter is the no-go line. Anything underneath that, between 12 and 12 inches is good to go. This is nationwide. If you don't have signal, another important highlight, if you're going to a lake, you've got all these 12 to 17-inch largemouth, smallmouth, or spots in.
Yep.
You need to be submitting the fish through the app. So if you don't have signal, you need to make sure your camera rolls capturing all the information. Again, I put the instructions in the rules on how to test all 3 aspects of your phone working together with Fishing Chaos. That means you'll have to get off the water early. You'll have to get to a place with signal, and that's your time to upload all your fish that you've caught.
Yeah.
If you catch 100 fish, it's going to take a little while, so you got to factor your drive in.
Mm-hmm.
Another option is, as long as you even have 1 bar, there will be a block on your submission page to submit a low resolution photo. If I can't see it for whatever reason after the tournament, I'll reach out and say I need to see pictures of X, Y, and Z fish, or whatever, however many you turn in that I can't see.
That basically buys you time.
Yes. Yes. But the submission has to be there. And then I need to make sure all that data matches up with the photos. So that's going to take me a little while. The judging, we have the judging as soon as it can be done, but we are having a 24-hour challenge period. So if you guys see something that I miss, you can challenge it. Okay? So I'm not going to finalize anything for 24 hours.
Yeah.
24 hours after, I'll actually be on vacation that week. I'll be sitting on a beach with a laptop. That'll be fucking good. See what I do for you guys? God, I'm the best. Bobby, anything else? Anything else I could highlight on this? I mean, I'm going to hammer the same things over for the next 2 weeks.
No, with that, I think we got that pretty well covered. But now is the time. Go ahead, and if you're listening to this show right now and you're not entered in either one of those tournaments, and you've been like kind of, oh yeah, that sounds like it might be kind of a cool idea, just register now. Download that Fishing Chaos app, search Jigs and Bigs, find those, sign up for each of them, especially if you're going to sign up for the multi-species scavenger hunt, sign up for the, or actually, if you're going to sign up for the, either one of them, you should sign up for the other. That way you can enter fish from that day for the Midsummer Mayhem and get double duty out of it. You can at least enter your bass anyway.
Just get in there, register. Yep. Let's do it. Let's compete.
It could be one of those situations where you're out in Midsummer Mayhem and maybe you're just catching all kinds of bycatch and you're killing it on the multi-species scavenger hunt that day.
Yep.
Who knows? Yep. It could happen. It could happen that way. Shit. You ready to get a little fucking wild with this? I couldn't believe this when this came in.
Yeah, it sucks.
I think, Sean, was it you that had mentioned this about Westfield's Hamden Ponds?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where this initially had come from. He had heard, Sean, you had heard about this, spread the word, said we're going to have to talk about this. Now, I'm going to go through an article here that was written by my former employer. The headline is Missing Canoer Found in Westfield's Hamden Ponds. Westfield, Mass, WWLP. Following a 5-day search at Hamden Ponds in Westfield, a body believed to be a missing canoer has been recovered. Since Wednesday, a 20-year-old East Longmeadow man had been reported missing. According to Westfield Fire Chief, an adult man's body had been pulled from the water by Westfield firefighters just before 11 a.m. today, Sunday morning. It was very important to all of us that we undertook the process with respect and dignity for the deceased, he said. On behalf of the Westfield Fire Department and all of our partner agencies, I want to express our deepest condolences to this young man's family, added the chief. This is a very sad day, but I hope they can take some comfort in the knowledge that people from across Western Massachusetts supported the efforts to find their loved one. Several local, regional, and state agencies coordinated the recovery effort, including Westfield Fire Department, Westfield PD, Massachusetts State Police, Chicopee Police Department, Granby Fire Department, Hampden County Sheriff's Department, Northampton Fire Department, South Hadley Fire Department, Southwick Police Department, and Western Massachusetts Regional Dive Team. Their efforts were supported by the Department of Conservation and Recreation and the Department of Fire Services. A local bass fisherman assisted in the search with his sonar equipment on Sunday morning and played an important role. A formal identification will be made by the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. In the case of all the unattended deaths in Hampden County, investigations are being carried out by the Office of the District Attorney of the Hampden County State Police Detective Unit. Now, we have been singing this song for a long time about, folks, wear your PFDs, wear your PFDs, wear your PFDs. I would probably venture to say that this individual was not wearing their PFD. And I don't think I would be making some type of a broad judgment in saying that, because the Massachusetts state law right now says that to be legal on a boat in Massachusetts, you've got to have your PFD on board, not on your body. And that's a problem, because if this individual had that on their body, they'd probably be breathing now.
The only other, just playing devil's advocate, the only real option other than they weren't wearing a life vest, was they were wearing an inflatable that malfunctioned or was expired.
That could have been the situation.
Devil's advocate.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a slim chance that could be the case. But the odds are, most people just care about being legal, and if they have the PFD on board, it's really all they care about. That day, I had looked back on some of the, who knows what exactly happened. From what I understand, there were 3 people in that canoe. 2 made it to shore. 1 did not. And I don't know that, so far we don't have any information on what was going on there or what they're admitting had happened or anything like that. But it's kind of crazy. I fished there a lot. And it's right nearby where I, run a lot of errands, and I'll zip by there with my kayak. And I went by there. It was kind of crazy. I think it might have been Thursday I'd gone by, and there were police, like all kinds of crazy boats in the parking lot. You could see, right from the road. There were news trucks right over by the gate. Like, everybody's of course covering this. Like, it's a crazy story. It's unbelievable. And Nelson chimes in right here with something that I think is key, that like this Massachusetts folks should just start seeing that the writing's on the wall. Rhode Island just changed their law this year to PFD on year round. Mass needs to do the same. I agree, Nelson. I think it's coming. There's enough out there in terms of PFDs that aren't going to restrict your mobility or anything. These inflatable PFDs are really, really pretty awesome. As far as getting people, that's what it is. People have to just wear them, crazy.
Hey, look, no, not everybody gets licenses. No one gives a fuck about the lead law. It's just another law no one cares about. This is just going to keep happening. Yeah. And I do not mean any disrespect whatsoever to the family
obviously.
who lost a 20-year-old in this. That is completely and utterly awful. But, we're out there and we see people doing this stuff year round. Yeah. And that's why this stuff keeps happening, because everyone knows how to swim and because no one enforces this law.
Yeah. There was a day not that long ago. It was a few weeks ago. I don't even think I ever mentioned this before, but I was getting off the water and I was loading up my yak and I still had my PFD on. And some dude who was like, either he was I think actually might have been launching his kayak. he was like, do you have to wear your PFD in mass? And I was like, no, you don't after a certain window of time. Right now, it's legal to just have it on board. I said, but I'll tell you what happens if like you were to just not be able to swim? Like, what if you had a stroke? What if something happened to you causing you to not be able to swim for one reason or another, or you were just that distracted that when you hit the colder water than the air temperature, you just react with an inhale and now you're drowning, you know? Like, doesn't it make that a little bit more sense to just wear it? And he was like, yeah, I never really thought about that. I was like, that's exactly it. You hit your head or something like that and knocks you out. You're fucked.
You can swim, but you're physically unable.
You're physically unable to, exactly. And there are people who can't swim. Everybody who says, oh, I can swim. Okay. Rhode Island based their law on 3 deaths last year from kayaks and canoes. Yeah. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. I mean, this is what, the third or fourth time we've talked about somebody dying on the water? Regionally,
I'm sure more than that, man. Again, we see it year round. I mean, look, I wear mine every time I'm on the water, period.
It's just a good habit to be in.
It is.
It
is.
Well, now that we've all brought you guys down, let's take a short break, guys. We're going to come back. We've got much more Jigs and Bigs coming up after this. You don't want to miss it. We have an odd sort of contrast in our Just the Tip with the theme of last week's show. This Just the Tip, we're going to be talking about how to keep your fish in better condition in your live well. And then you guys apparently have been on your best behavior because we don't have an FTG this week. That's no calls were made in, and everything seemed to be smooth for everybody who was here. As far as the show, bait of the week this week, we're talking Shaky Heads, and then of course we've got your tourney update happening involving some Connecticut stuff, or I'm sorry, some Chronic Trick stuff, and of course a full recap of Joe's Wednesday night, and then in the beef seat we got Dave Shade. You guys, you're not going to want to miss this. We'll see you in about 3 minutes. Don't go too far. Hey guys, Bobby Roast Beef here from Jigs and Bigs. If there's one thing I can't stand spending money on, it's on something that's not versatile, something that I can't get a lot of use out of. I want to talk to you about Frost Buddy. What Frost Buddy is it's one of those can coolers. I've seen these before. In fact, I have some that are limited to only fitting one specific size of can, like a standard 12-ounce can. I stumbled onto Frost Buddy, and I was blown away with it. So versatile. Fits standard cans, tall cans, slim cans, and even 12-ounce bottles. And the magic is the insert fits all of these items in various stages within the insert. And when you take that out, you can fit a full 16-ounce tall boy can. In fact, it even doubles down on being versatile with the coffee lid. And on my recent trip to Chickamauga, I had a field day with this thing. I was throwing beer cans in it. I'd have coffee in the morning. On the drive, I was throwing in all different sizes of cans for different canned coffee products to keep me awake on the long drive back. The thing was amazing. So I recommend you check out Frost Buddy. If you're in the market for either a travel cup for your coffee or a can cooler at all, either one of those, check it out. For the money, you cannot go wrong. What I've done is this. In the show notes for this podcast you're listening to right now, if you look there, you'll find a link to Frost Buddy where you can get yours. And not only can you go and get your Frost Buddy there, but you can help out the show as well. Go and visit that link in the show notes to this podcast. Check out a Frost Buddy. Tons of colors, tons of patterns, all kinds of great stuff. And it's a great spot to put your Jigs and Big sticker too. Take it from me, Bobby Roast Beef. You're going to get the most versatility out of this one product, probably out of anything you're ever going to buy, especially for anything that you're drinking. Frost Buddy. It works for me. I'm a happy guy. Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form content. For all your premium kayak needs, we partner with Three Bells Outfitters, located along Smith Cove in Niantic, Connecticut. Three Bells is your go-to location for kayaks and accessories from Hobie, Native, Bonafide, Jackson, Yak Attack, Naqua, Boondocks, Burley Pro, and many more. Financing options are available to upgrade you and your kayak fishing experience. White glove delivery service is also available. Visit 3bells.outfitters.com for more info, and don't forget to tell them that Jigs and Bigs sent you. When it comes to high-quality polarized sunglasses, we've partnered with Torres. They provide stylish sunglasses in a variety of frames that are light and fit comfortably on your face. The polarization cuts glare and allows you to see the whole picture, helping you identify what's below the water's surface. They have a 60-day risk-free trial, lifetime warranty, and free shipping. Plus, you can save yourself 10% with the code JIGSandBIGS10 at checkout. Visit Torres.com to check out their selection. That's www.torege.com. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Thanks.
Bobby and Sean now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
We're talking live wells this week in Just the Tip, and we're not talking about taking a cooler with a handful of Alka-Seltzers and calling it good. That is not what we're doing. Joe is going to give us some tips on like proper live well care for your fish.
Yeah. So this is Joe with your weekly Just the Tip of live well care. So I know this is actually Sean's favorite topic, and I'm pretty sure he's going to chime in and give his feed and what he does as well. But no, so all right. Number one, when you're filling up that live well, and make sure you're putting those fish in, and make sure you're consistently recirculating that water, whether you have auto recirculate. I am lucky I have auto recirculating in my boat, but make sure you're constantly recirculating that water, because that water will heat up quick in that boat. You want to be able to keep that water temperature as close in the live well to as close as what the body of water you're in is possible. Also, if you have any, use aeration. Constantly use aeration in your live well. I also use a thing called G Juice. I think it's made by, I think TH Marine makes G Juice. I'm not familiar. I can't remember, but it's basically like the blue shit you see in Shiner tanks. It's basically got like probiotics, stuff like that in it, because you're gonna be these things are gonna be fucking gonna be bouncing around in there when you're going from spot to spot.
Oh yeah.
Kind of helps out with that. But the other thing is, after I also spray and clean mine out after each tournament to get the gunk shit, all that whatever out of there. But the other big thing, if you have a boat and you're in a big boat and your fucking live well isn't working properly, don't do that tournament. Get that shit squared away.
Yeah.
Don't kill the fish. Don't go into a situation you might kill fish or put them in a worse situation that they're already going to be in. Get the shit fixed. Don't be the guy who, like Bobby jokes around with people with fucking coolers with the aeration, the little bubble fucking aerators, and like the fucking tabs that look like Alka-Seltzer.
Yep.
Do not use those. Do not. Unfortunately, there are some tournament trails that allow that because they can consider it a live well. Don't be that person. If you don't have a modernized live well that can recirculate and aerate, do not just don't do it. Don't do it.
I have
do it.
Heard in the past of people taking and throwing ice in their live wells to keep the water cool. Is that like a regular thing?
Yeah, so I've seen. I never have personally done it because in my opinion, as long as I'm keeping that, because that like I said, that water will heat up quick in that live well.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the time frame is on my auto recirculation, but I'm sure you saw it when you're with me. It's constantly spitting out water and bringing it back in. So it's a constant flow, and it brings more. It just brings more oxygen in, kind of shoots that carbon out, but Yeah, I mean, between that, I mean, the good thing I have on my boat, I have an oxygenator. I have I have an aerator, oxygenator, and the recirculation.
Yep.
So, and I throw the G juice in there. So, but between those things, I think I'm doing all right. But you know, clean out your live wells, especially now, this time of year. They're fucking nuking the weeds in all the lakes. So you don't want that shit like in your live well and caked up. Try to spray it out. I hit mine with the hose or the pressure washer every single time. And like you'll get fish coughing up, spitting up fucking. I've had them spitting up crawdads and shit in there. Get all that shit out. Don't cross contaminate. Yeah, that's what I have for that.
Well, there we go. Shit, look at us learning stuff, learning about live wells.
Sean, did you have anything to add?
No, I'm good.
I think that was great. I think it was absolutely great. I hear a lot about the G juice. A lot of people talk about it like it really does make a difference. What's it do? Is it protect their slime coat?
Yeah, it's a bunch of that is one. It's got like probiotics and shit in it. It's just they
call that largemouth kombucha.
Science. Yeah, I don't know the science behind it. I don't know. It's like throwing fucking Red Bull down their throat or something. Yep. I don't know. What's the one? What's like
it's the Monster that they like.
There's a soda they say you can like
Mountain Dew.
That's what it is.
Mountain Dew. They say when you to cauterize a fish, you can use Mountain Dew.
That's right.
Like, who knew? Fucking A. Who the fuck knew? All right, well,
who knew?
You guys have been on pretty good behavior with your fishing trips, or not you guys, the folks around you, because we haven't heard boo this week about any FTG or anything. So I guess that's kind of a good thing. So we're just going to jump ahead to our next segment.
Jigs and Bigs, Bait of the Week.
I would like to actually start this conversation with our favorite shaky head jigs. Like, specifically, what are you using for your shaky heads? Because I think this will kind of help just get the conversation going. I'm easy. I use one shaky head in two sizes. I use a 3/8 ounce and a 1/2 ounce reaction tackle tungsten shaky head. It's got a nice sharp hook. I really like the screw lock style keeper on there. And when I'm using like thinner worms, like I like to use trick worms a lot. It's perfect. So cocaine. Is that his shaky head right there?
Yo, so Jay has been you guys know Jay lives right down the street.
Oh, yeah.
We talk constantly. He has been on a tear the last couple of days on the water.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you said
tear.
on the water. I thought you meant like on cocaine. Yeah. I was like,
on
whoa,
cocaine.
Wait a minute.
He tried to drag me in. It was like the Hangover, like when they're in he's like he's like the Asian dude from the Hangover. No, he's been on a tear on the water. I fucking drive by his body of water he likes to go constantly, and I saw his truck there. Jesus, I went and got drinks and food with the wife and kids yesterday, and I went by there at like 9:30, and he was still out there.
Oh shit!
He was out there right till dark.
Good for
he's
you,
doing a little
Jay.
night fishing.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
No,
So shaky heads.
Yeah, shaky heads. That's for me. I use a 3/8 ounce or a 1/2 ounce, depending on the application. Really, kind of more or less the depth. But they do the job for me. I haven't played around. I've seen some other like fancy like shaky head jigs that have like a flat bottom that I've kind of been interested in. But these do the job. I'm happy with them.
Flat bottom jigs that make the rock and world go round?
They do make the rock and roll go round.
Tensile inferior, fat bottom superior.
Of course. Absolutely, of course.
Nice.
I'll go next, I guess. So I used a bit of a modification, two of them, with I guess the traditional shaky head. I do what I want. Nobody's the boss of me.
Yeah.
I will use my 1/4 ounce extra wide gap lead-free Ned heads, and I will just simply attach a stick worm to them, a 4 or a 5 inch. Sometimes I use a full 5 if I'm feeling really froggy. A lot of times, though, a 4 inch is good. The other option that I use,
5.
yes, sir. The other option is, and I have a lot more luck with this in Minnesota. I think I mentioned this recently. I have some lead-free swinging football head jigs, and it's a swinging football head with a 3/0 extra wide gap. I think it's super line hook that's on there, and that I will put a 5 inch worm, stick worm on there. And that's my version of a shaky head. Works for me. I mean, the stereotypical trick worm or anything like that, a skinnier worm, I don't know. I just tend to have better luck with stick baits. So I'm pretty easy.
Me, I like the reaction tackle. I also use those because I like that it's tough to find tungsten shaky heads that hit that like half ounce.
Yeah.
That hit that half ounce weight. That's where I like those. And I'll also use Eco Pro tungsten. I like theirs as well. But I'm the same way. I kind of go from 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch and whatever in between. I kind of have them all, and I throw them on for different stuff.
Yep.
When it comes to plastics, for me, I am a sucker for the 6th Sense Divine Shaky Worm. Bobby saw that out in the water with me.
Yeah.
We were tossing those things out like crazy. That's just my go-to. And we were just talking about, they actually just dropped a new shaky head or a shaky head type worm, and it looks fire. And I'm going to, I literally ordered it a little while ago, like a 1 pack of each color.
Do you ever use a ribbon tail when you shaky head, Joe?
I do not.
I haven't. Let me say, I have, but I haven't had any success.
Yeah,
and I don't know if it was what it was necessarily. I don't know if that's weird.
The only time I did was it's that 6th Sense ribbon tail. That's like 9.5 inches. We were just talking about it.
It's huge.
I do have some of those. I have thrown them. I just don't think they're for here necessarily.
Yeah.
I think those are kind of made in my like with those, where 6th Sense calls home. They call Texas home, and they got the 10, 12, 13 pounders. I think not that they won't get hit. I think they will. I think there will be a lot of short strikes.
See, that's a real common fear with a lot of people using either shaky heads or even if they're Texas rigging a worm, and using too long of a worm. And I mean, I want to say it was either Yum or Zoom. They have like a giant, like a black mamba, some kind of like giant ribbon tail worm. And I had those for a while. And I think it's almost like fishing with a snake. You know what I mean? There's just it's a lot of plastic, and I think there's a lot of people that are afraid of that. And I keep hearing over and over again, they're like, when it's a worm, that body collapses right in their mouth. Like they're gonna suck that whole thing in, and even though that head is there, I'm like, I think it's just
it's just like I'm intimidated by it. I'm intimidated by those. It's just me. I mean, I'm sure I could catch a fish around here if I really, kept throwing it. It was one of those things where I threw it 4 or 5 times, and I was like, throwing my bread.
Go back to my comfort zone. Sure.
Yeah. Yep.
You do what you got to do. Yeah, it's nuts. It was probably my first and best shaky head fish I've ever caught. There was this little shithole neighborhood pond, like a town away from me. It's like buried in the woods surrounding this parking lot of a grocery store. You used to be able to access it so easily. And I mean, when I say it was tiny, like I could fit this pond in my basement. It was so tiny. I would try out like baits there from Tackle Grab and, Lucky Tackle Box and all that stuff when I first started fishing. And I remember I had thrown on, I was like, oh yeah, shaky head. Okay, that's cool. And I forget what brand, it wasn't a reaction tackle. I forget what it was, but it was like a baby bass trick worm that I had on. And I just took and I was rigged this up, and I just made a cast right basically for the center of the pond, and it would just drag it back up. And it got hammered. I wonder if I still have a picture of that fish. I might on on Fish Brain, actually. I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, it was like one of the biggest fish I had ever had on a shaky head. I was like, holy shit, this is great. And this is just one of those baits where you're like, yes, it's active and it's fishing the bottom, but
I love shaky heads, man. I absolutely love them. I've really been into them the last like few years, and I'll start throwing the hell out of them here pretty soon.
I've seen a lot of people too, almost like it's a Ned Rig cheat code to take a shaky head and throw like a creature bait on it. Like, so I've seen this before with people doing like a bandito bug, or shit like I've seen it before too with like a 6 cents prawn or a D-bomb or something where you do, because you get that hook point that goes further back, and I mean, you can get shaky heads at a wide variety of weights, which is nice, so you can fuck around with like fall rate of these creature baits at different times a year. So it's I think a lot of people are more open to shaky heads than they realize.
Yeah. I think if you haven't tried it, you need to. It's just it's just another tool to have in the toolbox. It's kind of my deal. I prefer although I will throw a weighted Texas rig. I always go with the shaky head first. Such as I enjoy it. I've caught a lot of fish on it, a lot of quality fish. It's weedless.
Cocaine.
It's.
Let me sit down at my little table, and I'm going to go ahead and magic marker up a poster board, and I'm going to hang it right in front of the table. And you know what it is? Shaky heads and Ned rigs, anything with a fixed weight, are just finesse jigs. Change my mind.
I agree. I'm with you.
I don't disagree with that.
Because you could put a skirt on that, and it would be the same ass thing. You take
I might put a skirt and a tube top. I don't give a fuck.
There you go. That's what I'm saying.
Tits and ass, smoke some grass.
We're kind of at that point in kind of like the fishing world where you can only reinvent the wheel so many times.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
So it's just
let's actually. You know what? I know if we don't talk about this, somebody's going to ask. So where do you, Joe, typically throw your shaky heads? Like what are you looking for when it's when you're hearing, oh yeah, it's going to be, this is the jam?
You typically, so couple different things. So I will throw them in weed edges, grass edges.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Like that. I'll throw them right in the shit. If there's some I'll throw them right in the grass. I'll throw that, not so much like crack junky weed. Like if I find a nice grass line, I'll get right up in that grass. I'll toss them in there, especially if there's holes in it. If there's holes in weed beds, whatever. That's primarily what I'll use them for. I'll also, if I'm seeing like some quality fish on like some rock bottoms, like deeper.
That's the other one. Yeah.
I will drag them and bounce them there. And those are my that's my two primary uses for them. Also, the last thing that I might do on occasion, if it's real slow, is I'll get kind of parallel with some lily pads and stuff, and I'll run them parallel with the lily pads to try to get, if they're not hitting the top, and if I haven't flipped or whatever, I'll try to get them to kind of
sneak out front and grab it. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because that's exactly what my thing is. I'll throw them in the grass, but if it's like really, really heavy grass, I like to throw a very heavy Texas rig. Like almost like just shy of like what I would consider punching with. So this way I can get into the bottom of the grass and just kind of weave through it. That's one nice thing about a worm of any type. Like, you can kind of do that. Even a lizard, I was doing that the last time I was ripping around. Although I have been fooling around when modifying and trying to do that fishing in grass. I have been fooling around. I've been using 2 bobber stops, and I adjust where that weight is so I can have more of a Carolina style. presentation, and then more of an actual traditional Texas style with the weights right down at the hook. But, and then if I really want to get cute, what I'll do is I'll put a big chunk of space between those two bobber stops, and then it's like it's not pegged, you know.
Right.
I get some play. So it's interesting.
I gotta get into Carolina rigs. That's one thing I never really got into. It was like legit, and he's actually on here right now. Jay Manning's like the Carolina rig guru. I gotta get on his boat and make him show me how to do it the right way.
It's so funny too, because I would probably just off the top of my head say that the Carolina rig is the most slept on technique out of every single one of our guests that we've ever had.
Yep.
You know, I'll bet you it's one of them where folks are just like, they're just not throwing it. And I'm not 100% sure why. That's part of the reason why I was experimenting with it. I was like, I wonder, am I missing something? Yeah. Should I be doing this up here? Or does it is it not for up in the Northeast, or who knows? But
no, it sure as shit is.
Yeah. And we have plenty of grass locally, so that's where it shines. That's crazy. So yeah, shaky heads, throw them. You know, look for stuff. Sean, is there anywhere that you would think to throw a shaky head that we're maybe missing?
No, you guys covered it all. I throw mine all in deep grass, mostly in Minnesota. Like I said, when the fish are deeper, usually, I believe it or not, those when I throw those swinging football heads with a 4 or 5 inch stick worm on there, most of the time I'm catching large pike with them.
Yeah.
I'm not even catching bass. I'm out there for 30-inch pike plus, and that's what's hitting them. So
only 30s.
That's those are the big kids. You're playing with the big kids now. They don't fuck around.
I love that. I can.
So no, I got nothing else to cover.
Oh well, I mean that covers bait of the week. So that means we have one other element of this segment here that we got to cover, and this is a good time to sit down and consider how the last week of the month is going to shape up for you.
For me, or for the people that are actually out fishing?
For the listener.
Oh, okay.
Well, I know that you're just putting together Farfignugens in your place, and it's fine.
I am Farfig. Yeah, I'm putting it all together. I don't give a fuck.
Film a mouthful farts.
You can do that too. Chronic Trips is still trucking on this week. We have 5 days left for people to get out there and catch some fish. I'm going to go through the leaderboard, and then there's a special note. Very special, because a saltwater species that has been on the leaderboards per the Big Cheese's demand for years. Somebody finally caught one. I'll get into that in a second. We'll do our top 10. 7 points, 10th place, Ryan Bogley. Great job. Ninth place, tied up with, there's numbers here. Whatever. 8 points, a tie for 8th and 9th. We got myself, Sean the Fisherman. We got Chrissy
Radwillowitz.
Or as I said, like that one time, Quissy Radwillowitz. But yeah, she's up there. Great job, Chrissy. 9 points by himself, 7th place, Timmy Jakes, as he's become known. Topless Timmy Jakes.
Topless Timmy Jakes it is. I love it. Topless Timmy Jakes.
3-way tie between 4th and 6th. We got 10 points for Cheryl Bentley, Nelson, and Derek Brundle. Nice job, guys. By himself in 3rd, the one, the only, dude, Nate Chagnon. 11 points. 2nd place by himself, 13 points. This is highly unusual to hear this name, Jerry Multi-House. And 1st place, 15 points, making I think this is his first time on Chronic Trips, Brant Rowland out in the Midwest. Nice job, Brant, with 15.
Good for you, Brant.
Apparently, I have 5,000 25-inch drum to judge tonight, so that'll be a blast. Thanks a lot, Brant. Oh, you won. But, 5 days left. Now, the note I want to make. A tuna was finally caught and submitted.
I thought it was going to be a tuna.
Derek Brundle was out on the ocean, got a tuna. So, good for him. If you look on Chronic Trips, it says 32 inches. It is not 32 inches. The thing was fucking like 4 feet long, 5 feet long. I think he just measured up against his board, and that was it. I didn't even see it yet. I did see the picture of the fish, and I haven't done any judging because fucking 3 syllables. IKEA. That's all I've got for that. Jigs and Bigs next month is open for registration. Also open for registration is Midsummer Mayhem. Get in on those, folks. Please read the rules on both. You're going to need a catch board for Midsummer Mayhem. That is the only acceptable board. Catch board or a muskie bumper if you can't get a hold of one of those 48s, catch 48s for the Jigs and Bigs. We're all in it. Come compete with us. Fun stuff. And that's the month long. Aside from that, it's been a quiet week on the MAKB front and EKF front. Nothing going on either of those trails. And that's all I have. Joe, do you have anything to add? Any tournaments?
I just had my Wednesday night league. I think I covered it pretty well. If you guys want to go see that in action with some commentary, go check out my Instagram and my TikTok at American Vet Fishing.
I love it. I freaking love it.
You'll get so wet watching that shit, your sweatshirt will be soaked.
That's right. If you want to see some sweatshirts flying around, you want to see some dinks being caught, fucking go check it out. And some dipshit with his jet ski right in the middle of the boat ramp.
Oh, you got the jet ski? That's perfect.
American Vet Fishing, TikTok and Instagram.
Don't miss out. Don't miss out. Before we go to our interview segment with Dave Shade, I want to mention this, guys, that currently Jigs and Bigs is looking to add some new partners to the mix for our 2024 season. And if we happen to get started in 2023, then awesome. We're going to welcome on board ASAP. But we have a couple of cool things kind of in the works. I'm just throwing some irons into the fire, trying to work some stuff out. But I think this would be a great thing for all of our jig heads, absolutely, to kind of enhance their overall experience on the water. Maybe do some. I don't want to jinx it. I want to get out there and give you guys too much. But we're going to take a quick break. We've got Dave Shade. Coming up in the next episode, we talk bank fishing. We talk about good eats in the South Shore area. We talk about all kinds of great stuff. You're not going to want to miss this. And watch out for Dave in the July tournament. He may be on the bank, but he can certainly track him down. And we will see you guys in, about 2 minutes. Don't go too far. Jigs and Bigs is your favorite fishing podcast, right? Why not show the world how much you love the show while directly supporting us? We have men's and ladies' shirts, hoodies, and a variety of hats. We even have a waterproof outdoor Bluetooth speaker so you can listen to your favorite podcast while out on the water if you like. Check out jigsandbigs.com/shop to visit the store and gear yourself up. If you really can't get enough of this show, consider becoming a jig head and joining our Patreon. It's a subscription that gives you exclusive access to recording sessions that allow you to engage with us as we record the show. We also have some exclusive content there just for our jig heads and even have some special promo codes. Space is limited, so join now at jigsandbigs.com. Finally, if you're local to our area in Western Massachusetts, consider checking out the Western Mass Fishing Report, posted weekly at northeastwildwoman.com. We have amazing contributors providing great content and info for local conditions and what's been going on and working recently. Jigs and Bigs, so much more than just two lightly roasted hippies trapped in the 90s arguing on the internet about fishing. Alrighty, guys. Bobby Roast Beef here with Jigs and Bigs, another interview segment. A special one, really. If I'm being completely straightforward and honest with this, I think this is a special kind of interview. Now, some of you guys listening have probably kind of picked up on this. Other folks may not have, but that little bit of music that we intro in with back and forth should be a little bit of a clue to some of you that I am recording this remotely. We've got Dave Shade with us. Dave Shade is, you might remember that name from coming in with the results of the May Jigs and Bigs multi-species scavenger hunt. Dave was our second place winner, I believe. Dave, was that right?
Yep, second place.
Second place. And there's something that's kind of amazing about Dave, is that he managed to squeeze second place fishing entirely from the bank, which is pretty amazing. It's a pretty remarkable thing. A lot of folks look at bank angling as just being a little bit of a disadvantage, or just being on the water being that much more helpful to be able to find fish. But clearly, Dave made it happen enough to where he was in competition for that top spot, which says a whole lot. But getting back to what's going on, and well, actually, you know what, Dave? Let's get started with this. Let's start our first question. And you know the deal. I'm a sucker for an origin story. I want to know the details about how everybody kind of got into the outdoors, how they caught the fishing bug, as a lot of people say. Go ahead and walk me through that. And we'll get to this crazy setup of where I am and how I'm recording later.
All right. Well, I started off fishing. I was off because of my father.
Yep.
He was real big into it. Started off. He still is a bass fisherman. True and tried. So he doesn't like to much catch anything else really. But he took me out. Oh man, it must have been every weekend for. I mean, we still go out. I went out with him last weekend.
That's awesome.
For the past 30-something years, 35 years.
That's great, dude.
He took me out just catching bluegill at the local pond, and we graduated to a canoe, and we just kept going, and my brother got into it too, and we're just a whole family of fishermen, man. Like my uncle, we all just all about it, and eventually my father got the canoe, and we upgraded. We upgraded to he actually went out and bought a nitro boat, and back in the 90s.
Oh, nice.
And I grew up on a boat, to be honest with you. I know I did this all from shore, but I actually grew up on a boat. And we would just hit the local. We went to this place in Rentham religiously for 25 years. 25 years. And he taught me pretty much everything I know. And then about 6 years ago, I kind of got, I wouldn't say bored, but it's just the same thing over and over again. I needed something. I needed a little spice,
Sure, yeah. You got to mix it up.
So I started going out, and I first started with trout. Started going for trout and got into that for a little while. Started dipping my toe into fly fishing for a little while.
Oh, no kidding. Nice.
I started doing that. I still do it every once in a while, but it kind of got the back burner. And then I just started, and then I got my first pin, the state pin. It was a smallmouth.
Oh, that's awesome.
And, I got a taste for that, and ever since then, man, I've been just chasing whatever I can, anytime I can.
So this multi-species sort of platform is right up your alley.
Oh, it was right up my alley.
Perfect.
As soon as I saw it when you guys announced it on the podcast, I was all about it.
That's awesome.
I jumped right in.
Yep.
And I didn't think. I mean, I knew I was going to be doing it from shore. I really don't have access to a kayak or a boat.
Yep.
So I knew I was going to be doing it from shore. So I thought at the very first, I thought I was like, oh, I'm going to be at a complete disadvantage here. I'm going to be lucky if I place top 10.
Yep.
Lucky, And the first couple of days, I took the first week off of work, and the first couple of days I hit it, and I hit it hard. I did 2 or 3 14-hour days from sun up to sundown.
Oh wow!
And I'm not gonna lie, I got really lucky on a couple of those catches. And the whole idea was to get a jump on it the first week, and then try to see if I could take my time, because I knew I was gonna try to do some carp fishing, and I knew that was gonna take some time.
Oh yeah, that's the thing about carp fishing. It is not for the tight schedule. That's for sure.
Not
at all.
Not at all. No, you're going to be sitting on the bank for a while.
Yep.
So I knew I was going to take some time, so I was like trying to get as much as I could the first week, and I got lucky, and so that's pretty much how it started to up to now. It's just I've been going pretty much.
Yep.
Oh geez, twice a week for 35 years.
That's hardcore, man.
So
that's so awesome.
It's an obsession. It's what it is.
Yeah. You're not kidding. Holy shit. Because when you think about it, when you look at it and you're like, oh, I this is what I love to do, and I think, especially like you kind of nailed it. Mixing up what you're targeting, the method that you're fishing, whether it be from some sort of a vessel or from the bank, fly fishing, ice fishing, carp fishing, cat fishing, like all of these. Even changing it up from using live bait to using artificial, or vice versa, or just trying a completely brand new technique entirely. Like you can really kind of keep the interest going there. And I feel like
there's always something to learn. I've noticed is when you get out. When I got off of bass fishing and I got into trout, I'm like, holy! I started fishing rivers. I had never fished a river.
Yeah.
Until I was in my early 30s.
That's wild, man.
And I was like, yeah, this is a whole new thing to learn. And I got into that and was starting to learn, where the trout hide, where they, the seams and the heads of the pools, and it's just. Yeah, and then when you get into and then I started getting into carp fishing, and then I was like, oh, this is a whole new other thing to learn.
Yeah.
And it mixes it up and it keeps it very interesting.
And I think that's what any angler who is in a rut, so to speak, they kind of need that. Like I see this especially with like a good example is Todd Grubb. He's out, and like when I first met him, he was all about bass fishing, and that was kind of his forte. And he was hardcore with it. He was really going the distance, and I always knew that he was into saltwater as well. But you factor that in there, and now he had spent a good chunk of time working on like the party boats and like working as a mate, to like make that experience something for other folks. But in doing all that, he got connected with some serious saltwater anglers, and then the carp fishing element is another thing that he's as passionate about that as everything else. But you can totally mix it up, and it's a great way to keep you going.
Yeah.
I almost feel like fishing is great if if you've got like ADD and you're just like, oh, I'm going to pick this up and do it. If you get a little stuck in a rut, you can just go ahead and say like, all right, great. We're going to shift gears. I'm going to pick up a fly rod and I'm going to go and learn how to do this. And then I'll tackle this and maybe I'll put it down and I'll come back to it. Maybe I'll master none of it,
right? But
I'll be out there doing all of it,
Jack of all trades.
Yeah. Yeah. Name of the game. That's nuts.
It was one of the things that was when I was fishing for bass a lot when I was growing up.
Yep.
And I do some ice fishing, but it's like you get that itch in the middle of the winter, and you don't really want to pull out all the gear for the ice fishing. But it's like, well, what else can I chase in the winter? Well, the rivers they're not frozen, so you can go chase trout in the middle of the winter.
Yeah.
So that's why it can be, during the seasons, there's always something to chase.
Yeah.
You got early spring, you can chase crappie. You can, late fall or into the winter, you can chase trout. And I'm in a good area. I'm in the southeast of Massachusetts. So, you go down on the Cape and none of the ponds freeze, or if they do, it's only for a week or two, so you can go trout fishing down there. That was another thing too. Is what am I going to chase in the middle of the winter without having to drag out all my tip ups and my heater and my hut? And it's like I just want to bring a rod somewhere. So I was like, I'll start chasing trout.
Yeah, and that's actually, it's funny because that's what I did this winter. I mean, unsuccessfully, only a handful of trips, but I'm really lucky. I live so close to such a great trout fishery, specifically for brook trout. The Swift River is just awesome. I love it. And
I've been there many times.
Yeah. And I have a chip on my shoulder with that body of water. I've never hooked up in my entire life as many times. And I'm talking, I've probably fished this place probably about 50 times in my life so far. And, I've never hooked up on any fish there. I've had some bites, but it's one of these things where I'm eventually going to just conquer it, get that monkey off my back and do it. But that's how I spent most of this winter, going out, hiking along the side, the banks of the Swift, finding these, pools and just working all types of different baits. And it's kind of funny too. Like if the one thing that the multi-species scavenger hunt has taught me is that anything will hit the right size paddle tail or the right size Ned rig. Anything.
Oh, you're not kidding.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm telling you, it is absolutely wild. There's some species of fish you got to get. You got to change what you're doing. Carp fishing is a great example of that.
Yep.
You got to draw them in with bait, and it's a whole other animal. That I've only actually gone out and carp fished once. I still have some gear. I need to put together a proper hair rig. And like there's other gear as well, because I know like with carp fishing, a big part of it is care of the fish. You know, so
Oh, yeah,
you
big time.
you got to have a big enough net to be able to support them, and then a mat so that they don't crush their organs when you put them on the ground.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, oh yeah. Eh.
It's just bananas. But then you look at the different methods, like folks using like slingshots to throw, their secret recipe of bait out there, which
Yeah, when they're making their own boilies and
yeah.
that's something that I just started getting into, that making my own boilies for them, and I mean no success on them yet, but I just started a couple months ago, so.
There are some. I had only ever used some of the pop-ups and fake corn and stuff from New England Carp Creations. And I got to tell you, when I was fishing with Todd, and he was like, so crack open some of these jars and figure out what scent you want to throw. And I'm like, hey, any good Italian boy is going to throw the garlic one. Holy Jesus, this was the most pungent garlic scent I had ever heard. So we throw these things out. Keep in mind, we had like the entire night we're out there. We didn't get a bite, not a single alarm the entire night. But when I reeled up at the end of the day and I was packing up my gear that following morning, that pop-up was still just as pungent as it was when I cast it out there. I could not believe
crazy
it.
how they
It's
make them
nuts.
these days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So strong.
I got a couple strawberry flavors that, man, like you pull them out of the water and you can still smell it from 6 feet away.
Yeah, it is crazy. It really, really is. Man, that's nuts. So let's talk, bank fishing. Is bank fishing like, I have this sort of vision when it comes to bank fishing that I hold it in a different kind of regard. Like, and not just all bank fishing, specifically urban fishing. Mm-hmm. I live in Holyoke, so like we've got the canal system there. The Connecticut River goes right by. I love that kind of situation, but let's be honest. And I don't know if these are the areas that you're fishing, but there's a certain level of like balls it takes to go into some of these areas. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Balls or stupidity? I think in my case it might be stupidity because I'm not necessarily equipped the right way.
Some of those places you got to keep your wits about you.
Yeah. Oh, you're not kidding, man. Wow. I got a good story about we'll just say there was a homeless guy right near the Holyoke Canals. First time I hooked into my first fish over there. It was a good-sized smallmouth, too. And I'm in the Holyoke Canals, and I'm throwing a swim jig off of a bridge. And I get this huge bite. I pull this fish up, and this is something I've been trying to do for a while. And let's just say this homeless guy that saw this whole thing go down was a little bit more excited about this smallie than I was. It was a little ridiculous. But it was it's just one of those things. I think that urban fishing, it's crazy. You can go into this like literally a concrete jungle, pop behind some bushes, and all of a sudden you're in a completely different environment.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I go out to the Connecticut River a couple times a year, and I'll try carp fishing and catfishing. And, yeah, some of these places I'm walking down the bank and you're passing a homeless camp or you're constantly finding needles.
Oh my God, it's the
truth,
worst.
But
yep.
Yeah, it's but I usually fish when so I'll either go out to the Connecticut River, and I fish the Charles River a lot too, just outside Boston.
Oh yeah.
And some of the places around there, you get some sketchy characters too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Especially the closer you get to the city. So yeah, you got to keep your wits about you sometimes and just kind of keep your head on a swivel. But for the most part, everybody's left me alone anyway. I've never really had any kind of issue.
That is a good thing. That's excellent because I hear stories all the time from folks like, oh, I was in this one area and I walked up and there's like some people breaking into a car or something like that, and you're witnessing this. You're like, it's an issue. And urban fishing, it's crazy. There's a little bit of danger there. It's kind of crazy. There is, and what also blows me away too is that you can find absolute giants in some areas that people just completely overlook.
Oh yeah.
It's just,
big time.
You just got to be willing, I think, to go and test the waters, so to speak. Actually, quite literally, to go test the waters and see what you can find. We got a guy locally in here who has been fishing. I'm not going to blow up the spot or anything, but he has been fishing just what is, I would say, is just the average every day. I'm going to go try fishing for the first time in this city. This is the spot they go, and he's pulled out like multiple 5+ pound fish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he's just, I mean, a lot of it's technique, but also time of day. He's mainly going out there at night. That's in a whole other ball game. Like that is when you're night fishing in an urban area. That can be that's when it gets even wilder.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Man, it's crazy. So, what's your favorite? Like, what's your favorite species to target?
I've been getting into carp the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm starting to really get into that.
Nice.
But it really all depends on. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I love it all.
Yeah.
During the winter and fall, I love chasing trout. During the summer, I'm almost always chasing carp. At least 3 months out of the summer, I'm chasing carp. It's once I did it and I got my first one to the bank, man, it's crazy. It's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of sitting around, but once you hook that fish, man, it's something else. You're getting, striper size fish in some little pond or river, and you don't have to go all the way out to the ocean to get them.
That's the thing. I hear it from Todd all the time. He's just like, yeah, you catch a 3 or a 4 pound bass, and that's an accomplishment. He goes, but you catch a 30-pound carp, and it's a different. It's absolute chaos. When they start running,
it is.
It's absolute chaos.
It's crazy how you'll be sitting there for hours and you won't get anything, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you'll have your line will just be It's 0 to 60 in like
100%.
half a second.
Yep.
It's just total chaos, instant chaos, and oh man, once I started doing it, I got hooked.
I think for the July tournament, I really have to make a concerted effort to do, because I'll tell you, carp fishing, catfishing, they are styles of fishing that really, like, I mean, you can catch you can catch them as bycatch. It happens. Sean's caught carp on Ned rigs. I've actually been sitting on top of 3 or 4 carp, cruising around one area in my kayak, and I'll be fishing, doing, throwing whatever it is that I'm throwing, especially like finesse stuff, and just nothing. I think that this July, I have to make a concerted effort to go and target carp for sure. And the same thing with catfish. I mean, catfish are just that is a much simpler process. I feel like catfish. Right. I really do. Like, let's be honest. Like, throw some chicken livers or something like that, and you can get a catfish on the board. And it's funny with the multi-species like platform that we've got, that's the scavenger hunt style. Did you take lunker for any of those categories? Any of those species that you caught?
No, I had the top spot in the NE5. That was the only one
in the
I had.
NE5, yeah. And the NE5 is huge. Like, the NE5 is one of those situations where you're just like, you're at least active. Like, there was a day where, a good example is, there was a day where I was fishing this one area, and apparently I just missed the stocking truck, and they had just dumped a ton of brown trout into this one pond, and I caught 3 or 4. And I was just like, all right, I've already got trout in the category, but I've got these. They got to go in the NE5, And if I can cull them out, then I'll cull them out. But like, for the listeners, that's important what he just said about he didn't have the lunker in any one category other than the NE5. Imagine that didn't exist, and it's because it's a point. For every single one. The more diversity, the better your odds of placing up high in the scoreboard. That's huge, dude.
Yeah, that was so when I got about 3/4 of the way through the month, I realized that I wasn't going to get any lunkers. So at that point, I was like, well, I'm going to have to go get as many species as I possibly can.
Yep.
And there was a couple of them that I caught. I've never caught a pike before. And I've never caught a bowfin before.
That's amazing.
We just don't have them out in Eastern Mass. I mean, we have we have one spot that's got bowfin, and supposedly there's a lake on the Cape that has pike. But I just kind of did a full send and decided, you know what, I'm going to go out to Western Mass I went out on a Saturday night and wasn't coming home until Monday without catching a pike or a bowfin.
That's dedication.
And I mean, I had really, honestly, no idea. I mean, I knew that, chasing pike's are very similar to chasing bass or chasing pickerel.
Yep.
And, but the bowfin, I was like, well, I figure it's probably a lot like chasing bass when they're in the pads and they're in the thick stuff. So I was like, well, I'm going to go with that.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny, when I caught the pike, it was actually the day I caught 2 pike. It was the day after that you guys fished the oxbow.
Oh, no kidding.
I think the day you were in the oxbow for that tournament.
Yep.
The day after I had fished the oxbow, and that's where I caught my pike. And
that's freaking awesome.
I saw the guy, your buddy. I was fishing pretty much right next to your buddy that was carp fishing. I think that you mentioned that he was fishing on the bank.
Oh yeah,
in his tournament.
I'll bet you I know exactly where you were. I don't want to describe it too much because that is a hot spot. A lot of local carp anglers are there routinely. You can pop over there and you're like,
I don't want
somebody grilling? What's going on here? You're like, yeah, they're carp fishing.
Right.
Yep.
So I caught it in that general area, and I just thought it was funny that when you had mentioned that you were out there, I was like, I was just out there at the same time.
That's awesome. It really is wild. It's crazy too, because now did you run into I ran into this situation quite a bit where I had some difficulty with those smaller species catching some that would meet the minimums. Like rock bass was one. I caught several that were in the ballpark of 7.5 inches, like just shy of hitting that 8-inch minimum. Luckily with the panfish, it's a 6-inch minimum, so it's a little bit easier. I got a nice sized pumpkin seed that met that, so that was a point there. But yellow perch eluded me in an insane way, and everywhere I was spotting them, they were super small.
Yeah, those big perch are hard to find sometimes.
Sometimes they can be crazy.
I didn't so much really have a problem. I got a couple spots where I know I get some big crappie. I think I got a 14.5-inch crappie to put up. And the perch I got completely by accident. I was out actually trout fishing, and he happened to take my bait. And at first I thought it was just a small rainbow, and I brought him up, and I think he was 12.5.
That's a good
almost
size
13
perch.
maybe.
It's a real good size perch.
I was not expecting it. It was just on my way home from work. I figured, you know what, I'm going to stop for an hour. I threw around a little 1-inch paddle tail, thinking that I was going to catch a trout, and I caught and then I ended up pulling him in. I was like, holy shit. I struggled with the sunfish. I struggled with that for a while.
Everybody does.
I caught like I think it was a 7-inch bluegill, and I was like, I know I can do better than that. And I went on the hunt for those for a while. I did like 3 or 4 trips, I think, just looking for them.
Oh yeah.
And I actually ended up finding one. So I get a Rhode Island license as well because I live right on the border.
Oh, for sure.
And I ended up finding finding a lake in Rhode Island that had some really big bluegill and pumpkin seed that were bedding up right along shore. And I ended up getting a 9-inch pumpkin seed. So it's just moving around. I had to move around constantly, man. It's 2 or 3, 4 lakes in a day, if I was doing a full day trip. And that's the thing about bank fishing, man. It's like you can't just if you're not getting them in one spot, you got to move. You got to move.
So actually, it's funny. This is a perfect transition because now I'm going to explain where I am and how I'm recording this. Because I got to move right now because my truck is going to shut off in a few minutes. So I want to drive around the parking lot here, and I'll get 45 more minutes of recording time before it shuts off. And everything that we're recording with is battery operated. I just don't want the AC to shut off. That's basically what it is. So I'm going to do a quick lap around the parking lot here, but you're talking about moving around. And this is interesting. I think with bank angling, like a lot of folks will get, for a long time, I used to try to think I was a minimalist angler all the time. Meaning like I would go and, I would try to use as few combos as possible. And I realized that came from bank angling so much. Before I had my own kayak and I had the luxury, and it is a luxury to put, that feel-free bag with like basically all of my lures behind me, carry all of my rods that I have, with the exception of my carp rod and my, like I have this one medium heavy spinning combo that I use from buddies of mine that want to fish and they want to throw jigs. I'm like, yeah, you can throw this on there. It'll do the job. So I have that going on. But, when it comes to bank angling, I bring one box. I bring as few plastics as possible. Like, I don't get hung up on a bunch of stuff. And I think that's where, like, my choice in colors and everything came into play. How do you deal with that when you're out going and you're targeting different species? Like, are you setting yourself up a certain way, or are you getting the biggest backpack you can and just going for it?
So what I usually do is I'm usually going out with 2 to 3 rods with me.
Yep.
Or what I'll do is I'll pack my car with maybe 3 or 4, and then when I go out to the spot, I might bring 2, maybe 3 with me.
Yep.
That's just because I can't either. I'm going to chase, if I'm out there for panfish and something bigger, I don't want to use an ultralight to go for bass, but I don't want to use a medium heavy to go for sunfish either.
Exactly. So,
I'm bringing two different rods at least with me, and I do carry backpacks. I have 3 different size backpacks that I have, and if I'm going out and I know I'm going to go out for just something small, I'll pack my small backpack with like a small box or 2,
yep,
a couple plastics, and if I know I'm going out, say, if I'm going to go out carp fishing, I got a bigger backpack to carry all of my gear, but I'm keeping it all on my back as much as I can on my back. I don't like really carrying a whole lot with me.
Oh yeah,
I like to try to pack light, but that doesn't always work out that way. I'm usually carrying too much gear, to be honest with you.
I think that usually everybody ends up in that situation where they're just like, I have way too much stuff on me.
Yeah. You get half mile out and you're like, what the hell was I thinking?
Yeah. It is nuts. It's funny because it was bank angling that got me into the practice of using a soft plastics binder, where I'll take, because it's like, let's be honest, in some situations, if you're going out for a full day, you're probably going to go through a bunch of plastics. But with the binder, I've found that I'll take, I'll make some exceptions. I might not necessarily bring, my 2.8 inch Kytex. I might bring a 3.8 and cut it down a little bit if I need to, or I'll just opt to meet in the middle and I'll throw a 3.3, and I'll throw things that are a little bit lighter. When it comes to like stick baits or creature baits, I'll pick a couple of ones that have like a specific action. Like I might pick a creature that's got more of like a dead action, like a D-bomb, and then I'll pick something that's got a little bit more of a lively action, and like a I guess like a pit boss or a rage craw, something like that. So that way I've got trailers if I need to, but also like I've had situations before where it's just like it takes a bank angler has, I think, probably the most creativity at times when it comes to fishing. And when it comes to combos, I'm the same way as you. I generally try to carry no more than 3 rods. And I'll usually carry a different reel if I have to. So like if I'm throwing something that's topwater, I'll make sure to have a rod that's got braid on it or mono. And I'll generally carry a spectrum. I'll try to go as light as like a medium light, and as heavy. Really, if I'm going multi-species bank fishing, the heaviest I'll go is really like a medium heavy bait caster.
Yeah, that's about what I do. I usually, when I go out and I'm going multi-species, I'm usually taking either a light or an ultralight.
Yeah,
I've been really loving my ultralight. I got a nice 7-foot ultralight that I've been really enjoying, and especially with like crappie and perch and things like that. Man, it makes it so much fun. And then I'm usually bringing like a medium, maybe a medium light, and then I have one medium heavy that I'll bring with me.
Oh yeah, it's so funny too. Go on.
I was just going to say you get the full spectrum. Because when you walk up to a spot, you don't know what's going to be there.
It's true.
I mean, you might have an idea, but if you're going there for bass and all of a sudden you roll up and the place is just flooded with perch and sunfish and crappie or things like that, and you go out there with a medium heavy, then you'll be able to catch them. But how much fun is that going to be?
Exactly. And like, how much damage are you going to do to those fish? Like when you're cranking them in with a heavy rod, you're like, this is not. I'm just horsing these things in and ripping lips off.
Yeah, you don't want to. Exactly. You don't want to injure them.
It's funny. The Joe had recently picked up a BFS combo, a really nice one, a Corrado reel, and I think he's got a 6 cents BFS rod, and he loves that thing. He's getting there with it where it's starting to make sense, and I'm a little on the fence. I think it was Aggressively Average Anglers. They had done a video on their YouTube channel recently talking about the difference between, what's better, BFS or spinning gear, for your finesse presentations. And it was kind of like 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's kind of more just preference. But I will tell you, I think that anytime I have the ability to use a bait caster, I feel like it's a more comfortable experience for me,
Yeah,
I just feel like it's more comfortable.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of the opposite.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it.
I started off with spinning gear, and I am ride or die spinning gear. I could never get into the bait casters.
I had for a long time, because I started with spinning gear too, and I love spinning gear. Don't get me wrong, but for me, I find that in the beginning it was more. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still pretty good with a spinning rod. Like, I feel like I'm pretty accurate. I hear a lot of people say, like, oh, you can't cast as accurately with a spinning rod, and I say, bullshit, you can. It's the angler, it's not the gear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all in technique.
Yeah, I really do. It's like there's certain allowances you need to kind of make to, make it work. But, yeah, I definitely feel like I can be just as accurate with, and some of my spinning gear is good. Like, a good example was I was fishing out in the Berkshires with one of our jig heads, Chrissy, and God, we must have been winding down toward the end of the month because the pressure was on for some of those smaller species that I was having a hard time coming across: yellow perch, rock bass, sunfish, and really that was really what I was kind of targeting over there. And she says to me, she's like, yeah, she goes, I've got these really tiny spinner baits. What they were beetle spins with a super tiny tin jig, and she had, what was it as a plastic? I think they call it a beetle. It's almost like a little two-tail, like little plastic, like a bug. And she had given me one to start throwing, and I was throwing it around on this one combo that I think I had either a Ned rig or a Senko on it, and it's a 7-foot medium spinning rod with an extra fast tip, and I was throwing that, and if I just found that it was just too stiff for when these smaller species would bite, for them to be, I was basically ripping the lure away from their mouth. And I made a change. I cut off on my medium light, which I normally leave rigged as a drop shot, and that's why I carry 2 spinning rods. So I've got one as a drop shot. I don't have to worry about rigging it. It's good to go. I cut that drop shot rig off, popped that back in my day box, and put this little beetle spin on. Instantly, like a light switch went off. I started hooking up with fish. Just that medium light obviously takes less weight to bend, but it's longer. It's a 7.3. So that little extra tip there gave a little bit of a delay, I think, in when I was setting the hook, and I wasn't just ripping away from their face. It's still extra fast, but that extra 3 inches was enough to just kind of make a difference in the way that it bent. Same style rod, too. Like, same brand, everything. It's crazy. So
it's funny you say that too, because I noticed that about my my ultralight. It's just when I was chasing some of the smaller, like when I was chasing especially the sunfish, I was trying to use my ultralight, and I was using one of the Berkeley's little 1-inch ripple shads.
Oh yeah,
with like a 32, like a 132 ounce jig head on it.
Yep.
And it was casting it great, but when the fish were grabbing it, I think it just had too much bend to it, and I couldn't feel it. And, by the time
yeah.
I was feeling it, they were already spitting it out. So I found that a medium light was working better than an ultralight, or even a light was working better than an ultralight. It just had too much bend to it.
Isn't it crazy the way these little tiny details, they truly can make a big, big difference. And it does help to look at your gear and analyze what you're using and know it, but also be confident in it, Right.
Yep. Oh yeah.
That's nuts.
Yep. That's how you end up building an arsenal of rods.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love it when and Sean is the best example of the way you can explain it to someone. Folks will say all the time, look at this guy, he's got so many extra rods. Why do you need all that many rods? And he'll give the analogy. He's like, would you go out to play 18 holes of golf with a putter only?
I love that analogy.
It's great.
I use it all the time.
Yeah, it's the best way to explain it.
It's the perfect way to explain it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out chase sunfish with a 7-foot heavy.
Yeah, no way. Yeah, that's crazy town.
So
you've got a good amount of experience. So I'm going to throw this question your way. If you had to give one bit of advice to an absolute noob just getting into fishing, regardless if it's bass fishing, multi-species, anything like that, what's the advice you would give somebody?
I would say stick with it, because if you go out, so I got a 12-year-old son that I'm trying to get into it, and it's patience. Yeah. You might not get what you want right off the bat, but if you stick with it and you learn, you take something away from every trip. So don't just get frustrated and walk away. Oh, I got skunked, I'm never going to do this again. Take something away from it. All right, well, I didn't get anything this day. Why don't I go next time and try something a little bit different? Or maybe I'll try this spot over here and try this. Because my son, if he's not catching fish every time, he gets frustrated.
He's all set.
Yeah. So I mean, he loves ice fishing. Is his jam. He loves ice fishing.
Yep.
But when it comes to rod and reel, it's a little bit tougher to get him out there.
Oh yeah.
So I would say is if you're going to go with gear, get something in the middle of the road that you can pretty much catch everything with. A medium light, and then just be patient with it, and to always try to take something away. Look at it as a learning experience, as opposed to going out there and saying, well, I suck at this, I'm never going to do this again.
Yeah, it's true. It's
so, because
I think
we all go out there and we all get skunked.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
I think personally, that bank fishing, and let's be honest, when you're fishing from the bank, you said it from the get-go. You're like, I'm thinking going into this, I'm fishing from the bank, I'm at a disadvantage. And moving is one of the most important things. But let's be honest, you've only got so many. Each body of water is only going to offer you so many spots that you're able to go. It's not like every single pond is a golf course pond where there's access from any angle you want to access whatsoever. You've got to wrestle with this, and sometimes you got to make some dicey moves and put yourself in some sketchy situations. So with that said, the odds that you're going to find the fish that you're looking for are not really in your favor. So, you nailed it. Like being patient and waiting for that next time to go around. I think a lot of people get confused with fishing. They think that the patience comes from, I put a hook on a worm, I cast it out, I sit down, I crack a beer and relax. And I need to be patient because then something's going to bite. Well, that's some styles of fishing. But even if you're out power fishing, if you're ripping chatterbaits all day long and the conditions are absolutely right for it, and you're on the bank, you might not be getting that bait where it needs to be. So if you're getting skunked and you're getting frustrated with it, just remember, I think it was Wild Bill Fishing from Hookset Hoodlums that said it best. He was like, I look at a skunk as next time I go out, it's that next opportunity and I can just get on an absolute tank. And it's the best way to have a positive mental attitude with it.
Oh, I couldn't agree 100%. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you go out and you think that you're going to, you have high expectations when you're going out. You're all excited that you're going to go out, you're going to catch this. And then when you walk away with nothing, you get deflated. And like you said, having that positive attitude and remembering, I'm not going to go out there and catch them every single time I go out there. even if I do catch them, I might just get a couple nibblers, a couple dinks or whatever. But if you take away from a learning experience and try to remember what you learned for next time that you go, you'll get a little bit better. One thing that I like to do that I've been doing now for about 4 years is I keep a journal.
Oh, that's the most important thing. Yeah.
It's I can't tell you how much it's helped me, because then I can go back and flip back. All right, what did I do? What did I catch last May? How did I catch it? I can't tell you how much it's helped and what I can chase and when I can chase it. And because these fish go into spawning, at certain times during the spring, and, towards the end of May, maybe the carp won't be biting as well because they start to go into the spawn. So, all right, the last week of May, I'm not going to chase carp. I'll chase, something else. Maybe I'll go after pickerel, or maybe I'll chase some bass, or, so that's helped me tremendously. Like I've past almost 4 years now, I've been keeping a journal, and I've been very religious about writing everything down. And it's such a big help.
Yeah, I do. I think that is one of the most important things is, we say it all the time that experience on the water is going to make the difference. The more experience you have, the better. But what good is that experience if you can't recall some data from it? So a journal and any type of notes whatsoever, whether you're using an app or you're using pen and paper, or you're like Sean, you've got Excel sheets and all kinds of spreadsheets everywhere. If you've got something that you can reflect back on, you're going to learn so much about it. It's nuts.
I mean, who's going to be able to remember what I caught, May, whatever, a year ago or 2 years ago?
Yeah. I mean, so much has happened in that year. So makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's been such a help. I can see why, you guys have been doing it for so long. I just started doing it about 4 years ago, and it's been a game changer for me.
Oh, definitely. Now, it wouldn't be Jigs and Bigs if we didn't have a conversation about food. So you in a part of the state over there, I'm trying to think if there's any spots off the top of my head that I would for sure hit if I was looking to drown my sorrows or celebrate a giant catch. Where are the local mom and pops that you would go to if you're just like, hey, we had a terrible day on the water, but you know what? A sandwich or whatever sounds like a great idea. This is what we're going to hit. Or if you're just like, I can't believe we just caught that tank. What an amazing day. Let's end it on a high note and grab, the breakfast or lunch is on me. Let's do it. Where are you going?
So I got a good breakfast spot that I like to,
I love that.
I like to hit, and it's actually right. I know that MAYHEM and they do some stuff on the Norton Reservoir.
Yep.
And it's right in Norton. It's Kelly's place in Norton. Their breakfast is just totally out of this world. I still have to find a place that has a better breakfast.
That's a bold statement. That is. Oh yeah.
Yeah. It is a bold statement, but I stand by it. It's phenomenal. It's right. It's one exit down 495 from the Norton Reservoir, and man, it's great. Or if you're looking to hit dinner, maybe the Chateau. They're good. They got some good food there. They're right on Winnacunnet, I believe. They're right on the water.
Oh, all right.
So that's another really good spot.
Here's a little inside tip behind the beef curtain. I have 2 notebooks. One of these is just full of restaurant names. You don't get to be a fat fuck like me and not know where the best places are to eat. So yeah, that's my database. Oh shit,
that's awesome.
I might have to go fish Norwood. I might have to go fish Norton. That sounds good. That sounds right up my alley.
There's some great bass fishing out of it's actually pretty close to Nippanicket too. Lake Nippanicket and Norton Reservoir. They're great bass fisheries.
Oh yeah, I've heard both those names. I think mentioned with tournaments and stuff. So they try to generally put these tournaments on where people are going to catch them. Yeah,
and they're certainly in there.
Yeah,
my son's first bass actually ice fishing was out of Norton Reservoir.
Oh, no kidding.
I think it was just shy of 5.5 pounds. So he was like, I don't know, I think he was like 8 years old.
That's awesome.
Pulled it all in on his own, and it was great.
It's so crazy when I hear those stories about anybody who caught their first fish and it was like, a tank of, when you're talking about like that fish 5.5, I probably had to go 22 inches. 21, 22 inches. I
think it was just shy of 21. I think he was just a fat fucker.
Oh my God.
He was
through
eating
the
well.
ice, huh?
Yeah, it was through the ice on a tip up. He handled it like a pro. I got a video of it.
That is freaking awesome. And that's the thing, but you catch this giant and you're just like, yes, I am so good at this. And then it's like you go out the next time, and even if you have a great day, like a great numbers day, and you're catching a bunch of like 12 and 14s, and you're just like, oh, this is cool. What happened?
Yeah.
It is crazy.
I know. It's that beginner's luck.
It is. It's nuts. Even like I'd been fishing for a number of years, and I remember I had put it down for a while. I don't know if you've been listening to the show this long enough, but way back there was a story that we shared, and it's available for the patrons or for our jig heads on the Patreon. There's a little video and a react. My buddy and I, we had fished, and we were just a couple of bumbling idiots. Like, we had no idea what we're doing, and in some magical way, nothing has changed. Like, in some ridiculous way, nothing has changed at all. So we would go out and we would fish hard. Like, we would go anywhere, and we made stupid mistakes. Like, we would go and we would meet up at like 3:30 in the morning at Denny's and eat a full-ass meal, and then be like, oh, yeah, I wonder why we're looking for a fucking toilet at 8:30 in the morning. Like, oh, okay, yeah. So, like, we learned a few things, but I was just, it was one of these things where I just wasn't having the results or the experience fishing that I was looking for. And I was like, maybe I'm just putting too much time into this and I have to be way more casual about it. So that's what I did. I got real casual about it. Like, so casual, I think I took a year off. Just focused on work, my business, and all this other stuff. I didn't really do much else with my time other than like got social again and went out, and did that kind of shit. And it was okay. But then I was working one night, and I was talking with a buddy of mine, and he said, hey, he happened to work at the bar I was working at, and he says, you should come out with me tomorrow. I'm going to go and fish this one area that locally called Red Bridge. He's like, I'm going to go out there, fish from the bank. You should join me. I was like, all right, screw it. I got a bunch of this gear. I'll put it together. So I grabbed a bait caster and a spinning rod. I had a totally different mentality back then. But I grabbed a bait caster and a spinning rod, and we get to fishing. I catch like a solid 3.5 on a Texas rig Senko, and I'm like, we're back, baby. I'm like, this is it. So we're gonna go ahead, because I had still been that entire year. I had been watching YouTube and watching fishing content and following things and reading articles and putting stuff together, talking to Sean every once in a while. And I was like, I don't know. And then I was just, at that point, I said, you know what? That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to make fishing a priority. And what I would do is I actually lost like 40 pounds. I was up a good amount of weight. And I decided I was going to go to the gym and just work my ass off. So I dropped like 40 something pounds. But what I would do is I would say, I'm not going to get to fish until I go and do a mile on the treadmill. You know what I mean? Something like that. When I do 2 miles, I'm going to go out and fish. So then I would get that activity, but then I would get the extra activity of going and walking the bank of whatever body of water. Something like that. And it was that like reward of going and fishing that was kind of a big deal. So it's a pretty good feeling. I was like, that is pretty badass. And I think fishing can be something, it's different for everybody. But man, I think everybody's got to just give it a shot. I really do.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah. And that's the important thing too, is you got to have fun with it. Because if you take it too seriously, man, it can tear you apart, and you got to have fun with it. No matter what style you like, what fish you like to chase, man, you got to enjoy it. You got to have fun with it.
100%. This is going to be an interesting question for you because you are so widely versed in different species. You chase different species and different techniques. And Sean loves this question. And the question is this. So Sean, Joe, and myself, we're in the white Jigs and Bigs freaking kidnapper van, and we're heading your place, Metallica blaring out the windows. We're going to fish a local pond near you, but no definite answer of where we're going. We're going to take the Jigs and Bigs corporate credit card to your favorite tackle shop. You can build a single combo and spool it up with line. So we got to know what the rod is, what the reel is, and what you're spooling up for line. Initially, Sean used to say no leaders. If you want to use a leader, that's fine. You can use every single lure at your disposal in your tackle box, but you can only fish this one combo. What would you build?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask this too. I thought about it.
Oh, yeah.
So I would probably stick with a medium light.
Yep.
7 foot.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a Fenwick. I really like the Fenwicks.
Okay.
I have a couple. Like I'm not big, so I listened to your interview with Chrissy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And she kind of put it best. She's like, I'll go out there with a Barbie rod. I don't care. I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
The rods, I mean, so long as they don't snap the first time you use them, I'm not too particular on them.
Yeah.
The big part is the line. Like she said, it's the line. You got to invest in it.
That's true.
But the rod, I would probably stick with a 7 foot medium light Fenwick. With reels, I'm a big fan of Fluger. I'm not going to lie.
Oh yeah.
I like the Fluger Presidente XTs.
That is like the go-to spinning reel for so many folks.
Yeah,
Really
I really like them. I've had one for a couple years now, and it has never failed me. Line, I usually like 8-pound fluoro is usually what I go to. I do use braid from time to time, but I'm a big fan of fluoro. And I'll usually run it straight. I'll just spool up the whole reel with fluoro.
Yep.
When I do use braid, it's usually 10 to 20 pound. I like the Suffix 832.
I love Suffix 832. It's great.
Yeah,
great braid.
I really like it. I really love it. And then usually maybe an 8 foot fluoro leader, 8 pound.
Oh yeah.
Is typically what I'll run. So yeah, if I had to say that would probably be my go-to setup.
Yeah, that's solid. That is definitely solid. And that's exactly it. Like, you know what you're getting into,
yeah.
With that. Yeah, I think that's a pretty badass setup. Actually, my favorite spinning combo is that 7-3. It's funny. My favorite spinning combo is that 7-3 in the winter when I kind of retire the 7 foot medium. That 7-3 medium light is my favorite one. I'll take that. I use an American Hero reel on the 7 foot medium, and I take that off and I swap reels because that American Hero, it's the fastest spinning reel I have, and I generally, unless it's for a specialty application, I generally want a faster reel. It's just more of a preference for me because I like to be able to articulate things a little bit better. It's easier to do with like a fast bait caster. And when I say like a fast bait caster, I'm talking like 7s and 8s. This American Hero is like a 6.3 to 1. And it's really nice for like, number one, getting a bait back if you need to, if you miss a bite or something. But when I'm fishing something like a Ned rig, I want to be able to pick that line up a little bit quicker, so that way I can just lean into that hook set, which is a very subtle hook set. But the last thing I want to do is have too much slack there. And I am one of the, folks say tight lines all the time. I'm not that guy. I like to leave a little bit of slack in my line. You know what I mean? And I'll hold the line. I'm the same way. Yeah, I'll hold the line with my fingers. And once I detect the strike, especially on a finesse presentation like that, I'll just pick up the line as quickly as I can, but without disturbing anything, and just lean in and let the bend of that rod do the work.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll leave a little slack in the line, and I'll watch where the line meets the water.
Yep.
And you'll be able to tell if something is taking your bait and it's running with it. Like, so if I'm fishing like a Texas rig, I like to run, especially in the spring, I like to run lizards, like Texas rig lizards.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And if something picks it up and grabs it, you'll be able to see it, the line just running through the water.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the same way. I like to run a loose line as much as I can. I like the slower reels as well. I find this is just my experience. Fishing from the bank, when you're bringing things in, you'll get I get a lot of chases anyways. A lot of things following it in.
Oh yeah.
If I'm running it too fast, they just turn and run. They'll just turn around and forget about it. So I like to run things a little bit on the slower side and throw it out. Let it, if I'm fishing a paddle tail, you throw it out, let it sink down to where you're swimming it right above the weed beds. And as you get it out, you want to, I personally swim it a little bit slower. So it's swimming right above the weed beds.
See, and that's the thing. That's why I like the faster reel, because to me, it's easier for me to slow down and turn that crank slower than it is for me to take a slower gear ratio and burn it to get the speed that I need. If it's something that I like, again, like if I'm picking up line on a jig or something like that. It's so funny you say that too about the Texas rig lizard, because when I first got into fishing, I was like, oh, these plastics look cool, and that's the first thing anybody ever does. They look at like the cool looking baits. I wasn't throwing curly tail grubs or anything like that, or definitely I wasn't throwing Senkos. I was like, no, I'm gonna buy these lizards because they look natural. And there was one day last week I went out, and there's one body of water I fish a lot, has multiple grass flats all over the place, and there are fish all over in there, and I've caught them multiple times, and they've been pretty solid. And I was like, I want to try just fooling around with either a big worm or some type of a of a Texas rig presentation where I could just weave it through the grass and look for the bite. Spoiler alert, I didn't get a bite at all. But I was throwing a black lizard with this chartreuse tail. And I was able to, in a couple of spots, I was able to actually see in like real shallow water what it looked like going through some of the sparse grass. And I'm like, oh, I'd eat that. Come on. I'm like, that looks
I get a
awesome.
lot of pickerel on them.
Oh yeah. Oh really? Okay, that's good to know.
What I love about the lizards, man, is the tail. So I like to use, I think it's Zoom that I like this, but yeah, I usually use like a Motorola color with the pink tail.
Oh yeah.
And what I love about them is you can fish them so many different ways. You can bounce them off the bottom. You can just straight up swim them, in mid water column, or you can throw them in the pads and fish them like you would a hollow body frog.
Yep.
And you got the four legs and the tail giving off all that action. And I found, especially, you get around like May, end of April into May, and you start throwing those, and the pickerel will just go nuts for them. So you get that big blow up. You'll see them come, shooting out of the pads with that big wake behind them. Oh yeah, I love that. And they just suck them right up.
That's freaking awesome, dude. Yeah, it's Nelson is a friend of the show. I'm sure you've heard him mentioned on the show before. We call him the Lizard King.
Yep.
He's all about throwing lizards, and that's the name of the game. Freaking awesome. Him. Nice, I love it, Dave. This was fantastic. This was really, really great. I'm glad we got you on. I talked with Jeff, and he told me, he's like, I don't know if you're aware of this, but he caught all those fish from the bank. I was like, shut the fuck up, really? So I went back through all the submissions, and I'm like, these are all bank fish, because when we're judging them, we don't. Sometimes it won't even dawn on us that these images are on the bank and it's the same person, But it's a month long. People fish a bunch of different ways all the time, so it totally didn't dawn on us, but we're like, this is pretty impressive. We got to have him on to talk about it, so I'm glad we did. This was really, really great. I'm not sure, are you working with any companies or anything like that? You want to drop any plugs or anything? If you have any content you want to share?
I'm just a regular guy, man, and nobody. This is actually the very first tournament I've ever done. I've never done one before.
I hear ya.
So yeah, I got my Instagram is shady_angler. That's pretty much all I got going.
Nice. Well, hey, go give him a follow if you guys are listening. And Dave's killing it from the bank, and I'm stoked for him. You and I should do a bank send.
I really appreciate this.
Let's do that. Definitely. You and I should plan a bank send. That makes life so much easier. Definitely. I'll shoot you a DM and we'll schedule some. I got the same thing we actually used to schedule this interview. I have available at a separate Calendly that's called Fishing with Bobby. So I'll send you that and we'll put something together and then we'll hit one of those restaurants.
Yeah, definitely.
I love it, man. Thanks so much, Dave. I appreciate it. You have yourself a good one. All right, bud?
All right, man. I really appreciate it.
All right. Take care now.
All right. You too.
All right. Bye-bye. I love when I get to do weird interviews in random places. While I was recording that, I had people that were trivia regulars coming out to the patio of the venue where I was, because that's where I was parked. I was parked at Nathan Bill's, and I had to keep the AC going. It was so freaking hot. So I'm driving around the parking lot mid-interview, holding a mic, headphones on, getting my spot so that the car wouldn't shut off. And then I'm sitting there having this interview, and I move over spots to get a little bit of shade. And I see some trivia regulars just laughing at me. Just like, what are you doing? Who drives around with these giant-ass headphones holding a microphone? What's wrong with it? They thought I was joking around. We had a good time. We had some laughs.
Roast beef does it. That's who
fucking does it. I'll be fucking roast beef. Man, I gotta tell you, I'm getting so amped up. I have a feeling that I will probably be getting on some pretty sizable fish this week. I'll probably have one of the best weeks this summer, and that is simply because the Jigs and Bigs tournament starts next week, or starts at the tail end of this. Starts on a Saturday, so I have a feeling by Friday I will probably break my PB, and then come July it's going to be Dinkfest, 2023. Anybody else have any, premonitions they want to share? No,
it's going to be a light week of fishing for me, unfortunately. Well, the weather's not looking too great either.
I got to tell you, there's one thing I want. The weather does look like fucking hot garbage this week, doesn't it?
Yep.
I'm glad you brought that up. It is shit. It might be like crazy violent thunderstorms. About 60% of every day for like the next 8 days.
Yeah, I was going to go tomorrow, and I'm like, I'll do some shit around the house. I'm not getting fucking electrocuted.
Yeah, I want to see how it kind of plays out. But I got to throw this out there. I had a really amazing conversation. I talked with Sean a little bit about this before, and I can't get into the details to mess it all up. But I want to say on the show, I am fucking so proud of Becca right now. We had a conversation, 2 weeks ago now, about like business shit. And I was, I am a big cheerleader of Becca. I think she can do a lot of shit. And, I had, tried to give her some advice, and she took my advice and truly fucking ran with it on her own. And I can only say that, it looks like some big shit's coming for her soon. I don't, later in the end of the year or so, I don't know, but it's going to be crazy. I don't want to get into the details, but I am so fucking proud of the adventure that is about to happen is going to be amazing. That's all I can say.
That's good.
And I'm still waiting on that menu for, you know what? We should plan a lunch to Munich House. We should plan a lunch to Munich House this week. We'll go. We'll have some German food, and we'll say,
I need your goddamn menu for the game dinner.
I still haven't gotten it.
Start shouting the few random German swears I know at people just for no reason.
Kaputt.
Scheiße.
Scheiße.
Start singing Rammstein songs, whatever we got to do.
But if we go and we start hollering at them in German, I will be. Mine can be just gibberish because I'll just be gargling knockwurst, breakneck speeds,
and nobody will know.
Nobody
will ever know.
Just be like, that's authentic German right there. Knockwurst gargling son of a bitch.
Who the fuck do you think you are?
That about does it for this show. I am toast. Yeah. I feel like summer has arrived officially with the calendar, and summer came in this season with two giant middle fingers full of tropical moist air. How do you like that, internet?
Moist.
That's how I like my cakes. We hope you guys sign up for this July multi-species scavenger hunt, because I had a great time last month with it, and I know everybody else. I mean, we had I forget how many anglers in total we had. We had well over 40 anyway, which is freaking awesome. So I'm hoping that July ends up just as great. We have some good stuff. And then don't forget about Midsummer's Mayhem. That's coming up mid-July. The 16th, you can get yourself a day of catching unlimited bass within a specific size allotment. And maybe you win some prizes. Maybe you win some money.
Yep.
Welcome to the big game. Welcome to the big game. That's all I got for you guys. I apologize that we're coming up short this week. Actually, there's only one jig head.
Almost 3 hours. I think we're good.
There's only one jig head. There's only one jig head that really, I think, truly appreciates and goes out of their way to tell me they appreciate the 4+ hour long shows, and that's Roadkill Nick. He's the OG. He's the OG.
He also might be a damaged individual. We got to keep that in mind.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that Jigs and Bigs has a type, but
we got a type.
You know what I mean?
That's it.
That's it. All right, guys, you have a great one. Looking forward to a great July. Get out there and catch them. If you're in our local area, don't get electrocuted. Try and avoid that as much as possible. Wear your PFDs, because the entire state of Massachusetts doesn't want to go looking for you if you don't come back up on shore. So go ahead and please take care to not be foolish and make some kind of a big mistake. On behalf of myself, who the fuck is Joe Brown, and Sean, the goddamn IKEA furniture building fisherman, we got one thing to say, guys, and it's the thing that we say over and over again. Not that. Not that. The thing that we say over and over again is this.
Tits and ass, smoke some grass.
Nice.
Hey, don't put in Shake and Bake this week. Play the funeral dirge.
For a funeral dirge? Yeah, I think I will. Oh, God.
I'm dying. Fucking dying.
Like we always say, not that.
Like we always say, oh, we fucked up.
Like we always say.
Oh, wow. We didn't use that.
We didn't use it at all.
Dude, Bobby nearly broke his finger using it at trivia. You must have hit it every 5 minutes. It was phenomenal.
I use it when I DJ and I got to cover up a sloppy transition. You know, I'll just be like, oh, these don't really fit. And then instead of using a drop with my name, I'll just go like, I'm the snore guy. All right. You guys are awesome. I'm going to hit the stop recording button.